veterans running for the Senate this year. Cal is running along with an Indiana Navy vet, now Congressman Jim Banks. In Nevada, West Point grad Sam Brown is stepping up to serve again after being grievously injured by an IED in Afghanistan. In Montana, former Navy SEAL Tim Sheehy is solidly ahead in the polls. Republicans are also competitive with more traditional GOP candidates, but in states that are usually layups for Democrats. Watch former Governor Larry Hogan in Maryland, businessman Eric Hovde in Wisconsin, who has incumbent Tammy Baldwin running scared, and Kerry Lake, of course, gaining in Arizona as voters recognize that Ruben Gallegos is a genuine radical. The groundswell may be shifting nationally towards Trump. If so, Trump may help pull these good Senate nominees over the line as well. Make sure you vote. I'm Hugh Hewitt.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
It's really quite extraordinary, and I'm 68 years old, and I've always been very, very active. My weight is a very good weight. I take care of my home all by myself. I have an acre of land. I'm so sold on this product, I can't tell you.
We love the Balance of Nature. Has been amazing. I keep seeing the ad for it, and I'm like, you know what? It wouldn't hurt to have more fiber. I don't know. We just feel better.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Is thinning hair or a receding hairline making you self-conscious? Try Hair Grow from New Nordic. Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start feeling your best with Hair Grow.
It's 5:39. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center Time, a service of almostfreeteeth.com. What if you could save an average 90% for dental implants and get 100% of that smile back? With the Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO, it's possible. Check if you qualify. Almostfreeteeth.com. The outbound Kennedy, watch out. You've got an off-ramp closed for a week. It's the off-ramp to Ohio, and you can detour by exiting at Augusta. Stevenson already piling up between Cicero and Kedzie as folks head to Midway Airport this morning. Dan Ryan inbound jammed up 35th up through 31st. Accident reported minutes ago. Bishop Ford inbound at 111th. It's being pushed off to the left shoulder. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Windy and mild, clouds and sun, high 68. Currently 44. Your next news update is at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. We were remarking upon how much fun Trump and Trump supporters were having this weekend into this final week of the campaign. And it was quite the opposite on the other side. Before we even get to the rally last night, Madison Square Garden, quite the lineup.
7-hour rally. I don't know if you watched the whole thing, but it was a long slog. But people were so excited, and once again, Trump won the news cycle, Dan.
Before the rally, though, just comparing and contrasting the disposition of the two sides. It was all, darkness and demagoguery from the left leading into Sunday night. Unsurprisingly, this is what they telegraphed. This would be their closing argument, and they were serious. That Trump is Hitler. That's what they have. Yep. That's what they're going with.
Letting that go.
Hillary Clinton kicked it off.
And, one other thing that you'll see next week, Caitlin, is Trump actually reenacting the Madison Square Garden rally in 1939. I write about this in my book. President Franklin Roosevelt was appalled that neo-Nazis, fascists in America were lining up to essentially pledge their support for the kind of government that they were seeing in Germany. So I don't think we can ignore it.
We can't ignore what happened in 1939 because the clear implication is it's happening again in 2024. By the way, I do want to note, this came to my attention, that I think it was it was just over the weekend. The 8-year anniversary of Hillary Clinton's tweet, a picture of herself as a young girl with the caption, "Happy birthday to this future president." Don't want to miss an anniversary of that tweet.
Wow, that didn't age well, did it? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, by the way, I'm pretty sure, interesting, just talking about Hillary Clinton. Bill Clinton accepted the nomination for president in 1992 at Madison Square Garden, where the Democrats had their convention. But of course, that doesn't call to mind the neo-Nazi rally in 1939 because that was her and her husband. And so Hillary Clinton kicks it off with Klingon Collins, and everybody else follows. First, Knucklehead Walls.
Donald Trump has descended into madness over the last few weeks. And I think some of you don't miss on this. Go do your Google on this. Donald Trump's got this big rally going at Madison Square Garden. There's a direct parallel to a big rally that happened in the mid-1930s at Madison Square Garden. And don't think that he doesn't know for 1 second exactly what they're doing there.
I mean, seriously, go change your tampon, Tim, honestly.
Go do your Google. Knucklehead is really actually quite generous for as a descriptor for Walls. And then MSNBC, wrapping it up.
But that jamboree happening right now, you see it there on your screen, in that place is particularly chilling because in 1939, more than 20,000 supporters of a different fascist leader, Adolf Hitler, packed the garden for a so-called pro-America rally. A rally where speakers voiced anti-Semitic rhetoric from a stage draped with Nazi banners. When a Jewish protester rushed the stage, the Associated Press reported, quote, instantly, a dozen or more stormtroopers set upon him, knocking him down and beating him as he held his head in his arms. Most of his clothing was torn from his body. Later, he was booked for disorderly conduct. Now, against that backdrop of history, Donald Trump, the man who has threatened to use the military against opponents he calls enemies from within, who has threatened to use the troops to quell what he says are lawless cities, and to use those troops to carry out mass deportations of immigrants, is once again turning Madison Square Garden into a staging ground for extremism.
I mean, it's almost to the point of exhaustion. These people are so stupid.
New York Times Sunday Opinion, the headline in all caps because they're yelling at you. Donald Trump says he will prosecute his enemies, order mass deportations, use soldiers against citizens, abandon allies, play politics with disasters. Believe him, period. That's the opinion in like 42-point font, all caps. They're in full panic mode. And, they should be because against all of this Trump is Hitler business, I mentioned before the break, he's more popular than he's ever been. He's also more popular than Kamala Harris. So the only path to victory for Kamala Harris is to make Trump such box office poison, so repellent that people will vote against him. It is completely a referendum on him. And she has done enough to establish herself as the safe choice that even if they have qualms about her, they must stop him. They must rally to the clarion call issued by outlets like the MSNBC and stop him. Not happening. No, it's not happening. They're not buying it. And in fact, the pushback is pretty strong and from pretty righteous places. For example, a Holocaust survivor named John Wartsky took to the interweb and issued this missive in the direction of Kamala Harris.
I'm 94 years old and survivor of Auschwitz and the death marches. Adolf Hitler invaded Poland when I was 9 years old. He murdered my parents and most of our family. I know more about Hitler than Kamala will ever know in 1,000 lifetimes. For her to accuse President Trump of being like Hitler is the worst thing I've ever heard in my 75 years living in the United States. I know President Trump, and he would never say this, and Kamala Harris knows this. She owes my parents and everybody else who was murdered by Hitler an apology for repeating this lie.
Jerry Wartsky, I think I misidentified him as John Wartsky. Jerry Wartsky is that 94-year-old Holocaust survivor from Auschwitz, whose words you just heard. In addition to that, more local, Eric Adams returning the favor. Al Smith was rather generous. Trump was rather generous to Eric Adams at the Al Smith dinner last week, talking about Eric Adams' indictment and so forth, and suggesting he had been punished for speaking out against the open borders policy and the impact on New York City. Eric Adams was asked if he thinks Trump's a fascist. He didn't duck that question.
You know, I have been had those terms hurled at me by some political leaders in the city, using terms like Hitler and fascist. My answer is no. I know what Hitler has done, and I know what a fascist regime looks like. I think, as I've called over and over again, that the level of conversation, I think we could all dial down the temperature. And I've heard people say that the former president should not be able to have a rally in Madison Square Garden. I strongly disagree. This is America. This is New York. And I think it's important that we allow individuals to exercise their right to get their message clear to New Yorkers. And our job as a city and as a police department is to make sure they can do that in a peaceful way. I think that we must be extremely cautious. The heat we turn up today, pre-election, is going to have to be the heat we're going to have to govern in. And I think we need to show a level of respectable communication. And so when people called me fascist and other terminologies, I didn't like it. And I don't think it's fitting to anyone to state that the former president is equal to being Hitler. I just think that.
Wow. Eric Adams with a moment of clarity. That's unusual. The heat that we turn up today is the heat we're going to have to govern. Well, that's pretty good insight. As somebody that's paying a little bit of attention, or maybe learning on the job, I don't know which, but that was about as sober remark as I've heard from Eric Adams since he's been elected.
And that was Saturday. They were, he had a press conference to talk about, safety concerns around the Madison Square Garden event, and a reporter asked him about that, and he took the question and answered it how he sees fit.
It's all very dark coming from the other side, isn't it? It's all darkness and foreboding. And I think I think Tucker Carlson at the Trump rally at MSG last night, he hit it on the head. It's not something we haven't said and he hasn't said before, but it bears repeating, particularly when they're living down to this characterization.
Donald Trump's going to win. He's going to win. I know that that's true. Why is Donald Trump going to win? The people he's about to defeat have no idea. And they're panicked. They have no idea why people like Donald Trump. And their first theory was, well, Donald Trump is evil, so half the country's evil also. And that's one of the reasons they spent the last 4 years trying to destroy the country, because they're mad at its voters for liking Donald Trump. How much easier would it have been just to pause for 20 minutes and ask yourself honestly in some silent place, why do people like Donald Trump? And if they had been honest enough to ask themselves that question, they would have come up with the two main reasons, and here's what they are. The first reason that people like Donald Trump is because he likes them. That's why. And it's real. Affection is something you can't fake. I don't care how many times Kamala Harris would tell me she loves me, I don't believe her. I saw her kiss her husband with a mask on.
That's right.
A mask on. That's her version of love. It's fake. It's not real. They spent 10 years telling you Trump is a hater. Do you feel that on him? No, you don't. Because it's not there. I've spent a lot of time with Trump. And there's not one moment I've ever been with him off camera where he's spending his time grousing about people he hates. Ever. He's talking about the people and the country he loves in his private time. Trust me. And people know in a country that has been taken over by a leadership class that actually despises them and their values and their history and their culture and their customs, really hates them to the point that it's trying to replace them, they know someone who actually has affection for them, and that's Donald Trump. And it's requited. It's requited. They know.
And I mean, what did you hear Hillary Clinton say, and the rest follow suit, Tim Walz and MSNBC and the rest of them, that this was a neo-Nazi rally last night. So that necessarily indicates they believe not just Trump's a fascist, but everyone in attendance is a neo-Nazi. Everyone in attendance is a future member of Trump's SS. That's what they're saying.
We're
I mean,
not
it's
deplorables anymore now.
Well, it is, but that's never changed. There's no walking that back. Tucker is right. We've said it before. They despise you, and they say it in explicit terms. Forget what, even though Tucker confirms what Trump's attitude publicly is his attitude privately, but they don't even have a separate attitude privately because they don't feel they need one. They can just openly call the 20,000 people at that rally in Madison Square Garden last night neo-Nazis.
Yeah,
and they do.
Because they're jealous because they can never get a crowd like that
Jim in LaGrange.
in that location.
Hey, Dan. Hey, Amy. Dan, I think that the greatest political strategy of this election season was forcing Kamala's hand, getting her out of the basement, talking incessantly about how she hasn't done an interview, she hasn't done a press conference in X number of days, and when she surfaced, things started getting real dumb for the Democrats. Thanks. Have a great day.
Yeah, well, exactly. Whoever talks the most loses. She's losing. Corey in Woodlawn.
Hey, thanks for taking the call, Dan. Good morning, Amy. Hey, Dan, I'm going to purchase my VIP tickets. I'll probably see you guys this weekend if you come to the event. But
Excellent.
I did want to say...
I'll let you buy me a drink.
Yes, sir. But I did want to say, in front of the National Archives in D.C., there's two statues. One says the past is prologue, and the other one says read the past. These Democrats are destroying our country. Every city they run, every state they lead, when they're on the federal stage, they're wiping this country completely out. They aren't following the rule of law. They aren't following the Constitution. They're writing their own history. And this is what Washington warned us against. He said these parties would be the death for this nation. And Americans need to wake up. Need to wake up fast.
Very good, Corey. Corey should have spoke at the rally last night at Madison Square Garden. He's definitely rally worthy. I did want to get to Tucker's other reason Trump is going to win. The first reason, as you heard, authenticity. Kisses her husband with a mask on. That's funny.
That's so true, though. I forgot about that.
The other, this is important too, and it's again something that has been often discussed, but here in the final week, it should be discussed again. Second reason why Trump is going to win in Tucker Carl's estimation.
And the second reason that people love Trump, and I put myself in this category, it's why I'm here today, is because he's liberated us in the deepest and truest sense. And the liberation he has brought to us is the liberation from the obligation to tell lies. Donald Trump has made it possible for the rest of us to tell the truth about the world around us. And that's the single most liberating thing you can do for people. If you want to enslave people, if you want to degrade them, force them to tell lies. And they have. They forced us to lie about everything at gunpoint, effectively. They put people in prison for refusing to lie. And not just the obvious lies that men can become women or Vladimir Putin blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. No, honestly, he did. January 6th was an insurrection. They were unarmed, but it was very insurrection-y. Not even the obvious ones, but the big lie. You know what the big lie is? The big lie is that they're impressive. That's what the big lie is. That the people in charge have somehow earned the right to rule over you, and they haven't. And you know that. These are the single most useless people in the United States. They have no skills whatsoever. They've got 3/4 of the money, and they didn't earn it. They set up a system.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah,
they didn't earn it. That's good.
That's the revolt against the ruling class right there. And he's right. And the idea of being liberated to say things that are true as opposed to what they prefer, which is sort of the Soviet model of having to live a different life publicly than you live privately.
Yeah, because, she's not kissing Dougie with a mask on in private.
I have no idea, but she may very well be. She may very well be. I wouldn't want to get within, well, obviously, but you think they have a passionate private life, Kamala and Dougie? Sure, they do.
No, I'm just saying they don't kiss with a mask on. They're like, I'm sure people bought that, yeah.
Tom and Oswego.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. I guess by extension, by me even watching part of that rally, I'm a Nazi.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you, I didn't know what time Nazis got up for work. I get up at 4, and I employ people, and I work about 60 to 70 hours a week to pay taxes for the government that calls me a Nazi. Yeah, it's very, very pleasing. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Tom. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
61 years old. I'm doing my first bodybuilding show. I'm going to go straight to a national event. Well, I was a power lifter all my life, and I just lucky a year ago met Mr. Michigan and Mr. Olympia, and they asked me what I was doing, and next thing you know, I'm 4 weeks away from my first on-stage show. I've been taking the Balance of Nature for a long time. It's been incredible.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code Chicago.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Put another pushpin on the map. Lockland, Ohio, overrun by migrants from Mauritania. Put another pushpin on the map for another country whose migrants have overrun another American community. We'll start there at 6:06.
And Mayor Johnson, what'd you do with the money from Lil Durk? But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
Fiery crash near Woodstock. WIND Chicago News Time, 6 o'clock.
Nearly 42 million votes cast already. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. Around a quarter of the people expected to vote this year have already done so. Early voting starts today in Colorado and Washington, D.C. There's been record-breaking early voting in New York City, where former President Trump packed Madison Square Garden last night.
Former President Donald Trump taking the stage at MSG, making a bold final pitch to tens of thousands of voters in the deep blue state, which included a promise to bring back the American dream.
This will be America's new golden age.
Trump also celebrating the Republican Party becoming a party of inclusion after receiving support from voters in traditionally Democrat voting blocs. Other speakers included Hulk Hogan, Dr. Phil, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, Vivek Ramaswamy, House Speaker Mike Johnson, and many, many more.
Fox's Brooks Singman. Vice President Harris in Philadelphia tells young first-time voters, make your voices heard.
For you, this is not theoretical. This is not political. This is not about some debate. It is about your lived experience, and you are here, and I see you because I see your power.
She has 3 events in Michigan today, including a rally with running mate Tim Walz. Trump has 2 events in Georgia. South Carolina Senate Republican Lindsey Graham says former President Trump officials are wrong to call Trump dangerous and a fascist.
Graham forcefully pushed back.
He's not a fascist. He's not Hitler. And that shows you how desperate this campaign is. You got 3 retired generals have been out of the game for a while, 3 weeks before the election, trying to replace joy with fear.
Senator Graham said he believes the former president is the best hope to end conflicts in Gaza and Ukraine and restore the American economy. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
Forecasters are watching weather in the southern Caribbean that could become a late-season tropical storm. America's listening to Fox News.
44 degrees. At 6:02 on AM 560, The Answer, and good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Well, Washington came away with a victory over the Bears in some shocking fashion on Sunday, with the game looking like a Chicago win. Washington QB Jaden Daniels heaved up a prayer in the last second. Ball tipped and landing in the arms of wide receiver Noah Brown to give the Commanders a win over Chicago 18-15.
I know we don't give up to the final whistle, and it's just phenomenal effort on all sides. Offense struggled a little bit, defense kept us in the game, and offense found a way to pull through at the end.
DeAndre Swift, 129 yards rushing and a TD for the Bears, who dropped to 4-3 on the year. 3 were killed. A juvenile seriously hurt in a multi-vehicle crash Sunday near Woodstock. Illinois State Representative Bob Rita expected to return to the witness stand today. The bribery and racketeering trial of former Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan. A man fatally struck and killed yesterday near North Crawford Avenue and Kirk Street. Police say a man was crossing the street when a dark-colored vehicle hit him and fled the scene. Victim's age and identity have not been released. North Suburban Police are investigating. A coalition of faith leaders and elected officials are advocating for a solution to alleviate Chicago's financial burden from wrongful settlements. Alderman Gil Vieques recently introduced a resolution to establish a justice fund aimed at shifting costs away from taxpayers. Madison County voters are being asked if they want to separate from the city of Chicago. During an unrelated news conference, Governor J.B. Pritzker earlier this month said Madison County is just as important to Illinois as Chicago is.
Madison County is just as important to our state as Chicago is. It's also, frankly, it's too easy to let partisanship and regional differences divide us.
A proponent of splitting Illinois, Dave Stoper, said it's a small step in the process. About 1/3 of the 102 Illinois counties have already passed similar referendums.
Now, in November, you have 7 more counties who are voting on this. In order for it to take the next, or even begin considering the next step, we have to have a quorum of counties, effectively like a constitutional convention.
Iroquois, Perry, Clinton, Madison, Calhoun, Jersey, and Greene County voters will see similar advisory questions this November. The Bulls take on Memphis tonight. The Blackhawks battle the Avalanche. Fighting Illini fall to number 24 in the nation after a Saturday loss to number 1, Oregon. The news, a service of Quick Delivery Service. Visit quickdelivery.com when you need same-day delivery of your routes. Ground delivery when you need it from safe, licensed professionals. Go to quickdelivery.com now to schedule your delivery. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The lineup for Freedom Summit Chicago 2024 just got bigger with the addition of Dinesh D'Souza. He joins Dr. Sebastian Gorka and economist Steve Moore, along with Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, Jeannie Ives, and many more. This event will sell out, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Aid for Women, Best Dental Group of Bartlett, and by the Michael Alfaro Radio Show.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving MyPillow with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss and your gain. For the first time ever, you'll get a standard classic MyPillow for wholesale prices, only $14.88. But it gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer their entire classic collection at wholesale prices. Get queen-size MyPillows for just $18.88. Upgrade to king-size for only $1 more. Get the body pillows for $29.88 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.88. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to take advantage of wholesale pricing for the first time ever and receive free shipping on orders over $75. That's right. Get the standard MyPillow for only $14.88. They have never been offered this low before. They're limited quantities at this price, so the limit is going to be 10, and once they're gone, they're gone. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY to get the standard MyPillow for only $14.88, the lowest price ever.
The socialists who want to move into the White House have a lot of plans for your money. One of them is to control the price of food, and this is just the start. Could 401ks and IRAs be next on their agenda? It might sound far-fetched, but so did price fixing just months ago. Hi, Donald Trump Jr. here. If you've spent decades building your nest egg, you can act now to stop your savings from falling into the hands of the socialists. It's why Americans are turning to gold, the ultimate safe haven in uncertain times. To see how easy it is to diversify your retirement with gold, get a free info kit from my friends at Birch Gold by texting the word PROTECT to 989898. Birch Gold makes it easy to roll over your 401k or IRA into gold while preserving your tax advantage status. Don't wait any longer. Protect your financial future now. Text PROTECT to the number 989898 for your free info kit from Birch Gold, the only gold company I trust.
Paid for by Birch Gold Group.
If you're self-employed and purchase your own health insurance, I have some great news. From now until January 15th, the health insurance exchanges are open again. And even if you've never qualified for a health insurance subsidy before, you most likely will now. The American Rescue Plan expanded subsidy eligibility to millions of Americans who have never qualified before, even to those with high income levels. And this year, you can purchase a multi-state PPO policy, which includes access to Northwestern Medical Group, as well as other teaching hospitals around the nation. Employers who provide small group coverage also have new options, and so do seniors looking for Medicare supplement coverage. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Obamacare, then you need a local expert on your side. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 30-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than 10 years. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551.
6:09. Let's get a check on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time is a service of Del Bacchio Marchetti Group of Ad Properties, Christie's International Real Estate, experts in the northwest suburbs and Chicago with over $800 million in sales. Call 708-828-0000. Eden's already on the brakes inbound. You'll slow up at Wilson this morning. Kennedy outbound. Remember, the Ohio off-ramp is shut down. You can detour at Augusta. Inbound Ike accident, left shoulder. It's inbound at Irving Park. There's a vehicle off in the left ditch. And the Bishop Ford relocating a crash off the roadway at 115th. You're delayed at 111th as well. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Becoming windy and mild, some clouds and sun. A high today at 68. Cloudy tonight, a warm breeze and a low 62. Windy and warm, some sun and clouds for tomorrow. Bit of a high fire risk. The high tomorrow, 82. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
44 at O'Hare, 46 at Midway. Next news, 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy, as we mentioned before the break, put another push pin on your map of towns taken over by people invited to this country from other countries, sometimes illegal, sometimes with temporary protected status, some combination of the two. Lockland, Ohio is where we find this latest example. It's a town of 3,500 people, but just outside of Cincinnati, between Cincinnati and Dayton. And over the last year, they've been overrun by 3,000 migrants from Mauritania in Northwest Africa. Mauritania is it's a former French colony, but it's a supermajority Muslim country. 99% are Sunni Muslims. It's also a country And by the way, they're mostly here, as I understand, legally under temporary protected status again, like the Haitians in Springfield, Ohio.
Of course, yeah.
And there may be some reason to provide refuge for Mauritanians. Mauritania, I know a little bit about, because when we talk about modern-day slavery, Mauritania is one of those countries that's immediately discussed. There's an estimated 90 to 100,000 people in Mauritania who are slaves. So I can understand freeing slavery as a legitimate asylum claim. But let's
the
just
slaves here or the slave owners here?
Well, let's just start from the premise that there's a legitimate asylum claim. There's certainly a basis for that country that is resource rich but leadership poor. Let's just start with the basis. It's the same conversation we've had before about these small towns. How do you have a policy that allows a small community to be overrun by a small community of 3,500 people to be overrun over the course of 12 months by 3,000 people from wherever? That is not a sensible immigration policy, or certainly not outcome. So the underlying policy must be in some ways deficient, and perhaps in many ways deficient. Here is the ABC affiliate in Cincinnati reporting on the situation in Lockland, Ohio.
The past year, his village of 3,400 people has doubled.
No vacancy sign is up.
An influx of 3,000 African migrants, many of them asylum seekers, packing into a community barely more than a mile wide.
Many of the Mauritanians are unable to work and thus not paying taxes.
They're not working. The majority of them are not working, yes.
Under a federal migration policy, the Mauritanian people are here legally, but work visa applications can take up to 18 months to process.
We're looking right now at probably close to a $200,000 shortfall in our earnings income tax revenue.
And village leaders say the drastic rise in population is straining more than village finances.
If you looked at a response map of our area, there are two bright red hot zones on the heat map, and that heat map would show you the two apartment complexes that the majority of the Mauritanians are living at.
Doug Wiemeyer is the village's administrator and fire chief. He says apartments are overcrowded and fire runs have increased 12% in the last year.
With all this considered, would you say that the village of Lockland is overwhelmed?
The answer is yes, he would. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. This is just against the backdrop of the ongoing onslaught of information about the open borders dogma that this administration features. For example, this from the House Judiciary Committee, the House Judiciary GOP portion of the committee. Under Kamala Harris, more than 700,000 illegal aliens have had their cases dismissed, terminated, or administratively closed. The pace of these actions has increased each year. And here's what happens when your asylum case is dismissed, terminated, or administratively closed. You get to stay.
Oh.
Administrative closure indefinitely pauses an alien's removal proceedings by removing the case from an administration judge's calendar. Termination ends an alien's immigration court removal proceedings. Dismissal, request by ICE when the agency determines it is not moving forward on a case. And the result is that you can just indefinitely stay without any particular designation or consequences. Frank in Tinley Park, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Well, I think the Democrats are getting even for Martha's Vineyard. We embarrassed them, and they're getting even.
Hard to say. I mean, it's happening in so many different places, and there's a lot of variables. But, I mean, I don't think it would have taken Martha's Vineyard or sending migrants to New York or Chicago for them to do what they've done. And because, in point of fact, they were doing that before there was any shipment of migrants at their choosing to other cities by Governors Abbott or DeSantis, wasn't there? And point of fact, the way they approached this, is to try to demonize DeSantis and Abbott. They thought that they were going to be able to wag their finger in such a way that they would move the American people in their direction, family separation kind of thing, kids in cages. We'll come up with a slogan, we'll wag our finger, we'll call them inhumane, we'll call them fascists, and we'll win the day. We'll at least cower most of the American people, and we'll be able to proceed with this importation of people from all over the world without hesitation.
But it seems so many small towns in Ohio. I mean, I know it's happening in other towns too, but I mean, Ohio's Republican. I mean, is that why Democrats are dumping them there so that eventually they'll turn the state?
Greg in Schaumburg.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. To give you a little bit more characterization of what Lockland is, first of all, it is literally in Cincinnati, meaning within south of the I-275 Circle Freeway. And it is an exit off of I-75, and kind of a dangerous one, too. It's located next to the distilleries and south of the GE engine plant. And I was unaware of this story, but Dan, when you said that they were dumping them in Lockland, I thought, oh, those poor people, because the last time I saw a story on Lockland, it was the government talking about how they're trying to just survive. And if they've got, all of those people, they're in trouble. That city is just very, very difficult. Thanks.
Thanks for the call, Greg. Yeah, well, they're indicating as such. They're not couching it.
And you should see those two apartment complexes he was talking about where, the heat sensor is showing multiple people living in apartments. I mean, that doesn't look like Lockland anymore.
60 Minutes was on the job trying to do some covering for the administration last evening with a piece on illegal immigration and, of course, the focus on Trump's announced plans for mass deportation, and how the tenor of the piece was how unworkable that is and how inhumane it is. Of course, Cecilia Vega doing her best to be a mouthpiece for the Harris-Walsh ticket. Tom Homan, our friend, former acting ICE director under Trump, was featured. And, I'd love to see the full interview of Tom, not the snippets that were included in the piece, highly edited, because I'm sure he provided a lot more color, as he always does when he's on this show, because he has just a intricate working knowledge of both immigration law and the situation at the border. He was pressed by Cecilia Vega on the cost of mass deportations, effectively.
We have seen one estimate that says it would cost $88 billion to deport 1 million people a year.
I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Is that what American taxpayers should expect?
Oh, they're worried about
what
our
price do you
taxes
put on
now.
national security? Is that worth it?
Is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families?
Of course there is. Families can be deported together.
There you go. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. $88 billion that shocks the conscience of Cecilia Vega. The federal budget, I wish Holman would have said this, or I wish it would have been included. He probably did say it and probably wasn't included because it provides the context. $88 billion to deport a million people who shouldn't be here.
Let's do that.
Most of whom, we have 600, and I wish this would have gotten in too, but, you can't expect these things to get in because they give lie to all of the posturing by 60 Minutes apparatchiks. So we know there's 400,000 convicted criminals, another 200,000 that are accused of crimes awaiting trial. We can start there. There's 600,000, and go
with
rank
the rapists and then the convicted murderers. That would help.
Go rank order priority to your first million. So $88 billion for, let's say that's true, $88 billion for 1 million people who shouldn't be in this country legally and pose a public safety threat to this country. $88 billion. The federal budget is $6.5 trillion. Yeah. $88 billion is significantly less than we've drop shipped to Ukraine to date. So is $88 billion worth it to, as Tom Homan said, national security, to remove and reduce the public safety threat to American citizens from people who shouldn't be here? Yeah, it's worth it. We shouldn't have had to spend a dime, but unfortunately that's where the Biden-Harris administration has put us, and previous administrations to a lesser extent, isn't it? So this is what we have to spend now? Well, let's get to it then. Tom in Blue Island.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy. So the media still portrays, and the left portrays, this image of the poor migrant struggling to get across the border for a better life for their family. Putting Mexico aside, who is flying these people here? How are they getting here? And in the hopes that the election isn't stolen in a week and a half. These people have to be brought to account. They're traitors to this country. They're making an overt effort to destroy this country for their own political gain. And so deporting these people will not be enough, especially the worst ones. I really don't even see how.
If they're here illegally, how are they a traitor to this country? I thought you were talking about the politicians, and now you're talking about deporting them is not enough. What do you want to do? If the crime they've committed is to come here illegally and no other crime, turn them around.
I want the people that promulgated this circumstance to be prosecuted.
That's the politicians.
Someone set up those flights, Dan.
Yeah, well, that's the politicians. That's what I say. Keep your focus on the politicians, the decision makers, the shot callers here. And I mean, yes, the international criminal organizations, but we already take a hostile posture to them, although obviously it could be a lot more hostile, and the state sponsors of those international criminal organizations, and we could take a lot more hostile posture to them too, rather than sitting back on our arses and saying, oh, well, they won't take Tren de Aragua gangbangers back. Well, they're going to take them back because they're going to be dropped off. They're coming. And if what are you going to if you want to shoot down the plane that they're on or the boat that they're on, well, then we're going to. I mean, then you I think understand what would happen next. President Maduro, for example. Tony and Roselle.
Good morning. Thanks for taking my call, Dan and Amy. That specious number, 88 billion. That's one argument. But if it is 88 billion, why not? If Trump wins, we could take that out of all the money that the federal government sends to these sanctuary cities and states. Just skim it off their cut. It's their responsibility.
Easily, yes, and we could just stop sending money to sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. You're done. You're cut off, and that's one of the things that a Trump presidency and a Republican Congress should do. It's time to get tough on both sides of the border, including inside the Beltway. The other argument, in addition to this phony fiscal conservative argument that these leftist mouthpieces, right? They're really green eye shades types, very concerned about budget deficits and government efficiency. By the way, Musk was good last night too at the rally, talking about the government efficiency piece he may be intimately involved in, that he thinks he could cut essentially the federal budget by a third. That's a good start. But the other argument, in addition to the financial one, of course, is just the moral one: mass deportations. Tom Homan addressed that on 60 Minutes.
I hear a lot of people say, the talk of a mass deportation is racist. It's threatening to the immigrant community. It's not threatening to the immigrant community. It should be threatening to the illegal immigrant community. But on the heels of historic illegal immigration crisis, that has to be done.
How you doing?
At the Republican National Convention this summer, Tom Homan was the proud pitchman of mass deportation.
I got a message to the millions of illegal aliens that Joe Biden's releasing our country. You better start packing now.
Over 3 decades, he worked his way up from border patrolman to acting director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, the agency known as ICE, during the first year and a half of the Trump administration. This election cycle, former President Trump has mentioned mass deportation at nearly every rally.
We will begin the largest deportation operation in the history of our country because we have no choice.
What would the largest deportation in American history look like to you?
Well, let me tell you what's not going to be first. It's not going to be a mass sweep of neighborhoods. It's not going to be building concentration camps. I've read it all. It's ridiculous.
But if mass deportation is not going to be, as you said, massive sweeps and concentration camps,
There'll be concentrated,
what is it?
There'll be targeted arrest. We'll know who we're going to arrest, where we're most likely to find them based on numerous investigative processes.
Yeah, it's going to be sensible and humane, and that's the way it should be. And it's going to take time, and we know that. But you put people like Tom Homan back in charge, then we know that Trump is, I believe him, but we see it. We know that it's going to start happening. It's serious.
Well, start with the violent criminals first, please.
Absolutely, and that's what Homan has said. And it's the obvious play. Violent criminals and other people maybe haven't committed violent crime yet, but are on things like our terrorist watch list.
Right.
They're included in the first batch, too.
Or known Tren de Agua gang members. That's a start, too.
Jordan in Antioch.
Good morning. Well, first, so 80 billion or million? 80 billion?
B.
88 billion with a B.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so, but how much, because we can never get an answer on this, how much do they cost for us to keep them here every year? How much is that million people, how much do they cost us in what they're getting, the food? I'm not saying
it's always a moving target, because when you do that, then they say, well, Goldman Sachs thinks we'll lose 1.5% of GDP when all these construction workers and people who work in ag and so forth are deported. It's all modeling, COVID style modeling. It's all holding certain variables harmless. It's the bottom line is this. It's not a financial argument. It's not a financial issue. It is a law and order, moral, public safety issue first and foremost, and that's where Homan is focused, and that's where we should be.
And I think that number is going to change. When you first start deporting them, word's going to go around. They're going to see the writing on the wall. They're going to remove themselves from the equation when they see what is happening. The ones that are coming are going to stop coming. The ones that are here for bad motives are going to end up seeing the writing on. They're going to find their way out the way they found their way in. So I don't think we need to deport them all. I think some of them to remove themselves from the equation when they see the meal tickets over.
Thanks for the call, Jordan. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, doctors Economos, Gavalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidiscipline practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930, 630-830-4930, or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm a doctor myself. I've used it and I've turned a lot of my patients onto it as well. It's a good product.
Balance of Nature is becoming pretty important out there to a lot of people. And when I first started, I was really impressed. I'm a healthcare professional, trained as a pharmacist. So anything that's natural, I like. And so it made a lot of sense.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Few understand the impact this election may have on their retirement savings. In less than 30 days, our entire economy could face a monumental shift that could destroy a huge amount of value many Americans have stored in their 401ks or IRAs. In times like these, the most trusted store of wealth in human history stands out: physical gold and silver. Many Americans have looked to True Gold Republic for help. They specialize in helping those with a 401k, IRA, or other retirement accounts convert their stocks and bonds bonds into physical gold and silver to protect their hard-earned savings. True Gold is offering listeners a free copy of their Election Gold Protection Kit today. To claim yours, call 800-300-GOLD. This information is free and might very well save your comfortable retirement. By acting before the election, you can still make a tax and penalty-free conversion with the help of True Gold's award-winning team. Call 800-300-GOLD. That's 800-300-GOLD. True Gold Republic is not a financial advisor. Consult with your tax advisor before investing. Call 800-300-GOLD.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Trump answered the question a little differently than Kamala did. The biggest mistake he made in his first term, this was put to him by Rogan. We'll have that answer and pour over it with journalist and author Lee Smith, who has a new book out, The Disappearing of the President. That's at 6:36.
But now into the newsroom we go. Here's Michael Scott.
6:32, 44 degrees. Skies are clear this morning, and former President Trump continues his push for the White House following a big rally at Madison Square Garden in New York City.
With your vote in this election, I will end inflation. I will stop the invasion of criminals coming into our country, and I will bring back the American dream.
With the election growing closer, the latest Fox News poll shows the former president with a solid 2-point edge over Vice President Kamala Harris nationally. Harris opened a day of campaigning stumping at a black church in West Philadelphia.
Vice President Harris spoke at the Church of Christian Compassion in West Philadelphia, at one point through hecklers who made their way into the congregation. She responded to that, saying all voices must be heard, but also used it to make a larger point about the election.
This moment in our nation has to be about so much more than partisan politics. It must be about the good work we can do together.
Vice President Harris did not mention former President Donald Trump by name during her comments. She did emphasize that just 9 days remain before the final ballots will be cast on Election Day. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
At 6:34, 3 were killed and a juvenile was seriously hurt, all after a multi-vehicle crash Sunday near Woodstock. The collision occurred around noontime. Illinois State Representative Bob Rita is expected to return to the witness stand today in the bribery and racketeering trial of former Illinois House Speaker, Democrat Michael Madigan. A coalition of faith leaders and elected officials are advocating for a solution to alleviate Chicago's financial burden from wrongful conviction settlements, which have cost the city approximately $750 million since the year 2000. Alderman Gil Villegas is among many recently introducing a resolution to establish a justice fund that would shift costs away from taxpayers. The Bears surrendered a Hail Mary on the final play of regulation in an 18-15 loss at Washington. Chicago goes up against Arizona in Week 9. The Bulls are at Memphis tonight, and the Blackhawks skate against the Avalanche. The news service of Allstate. Some people just know you could save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Those people are probably saving a carload of cash right now. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka lays out your choices.
On one side, you've got a self-made billionaire who loves America and wants to fix it. What's on the other side? A woman who is really a perfect embodiment of the left-wing elite. It's not a political statement, it's a factual statement.
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
On October 7th, 2023, terrorists attacked Israel, killing over 1,200 civilians and taking 250 hostages. This resurgence of anti-Semitism in our society is alarming. Today, Jewish people continue to be the target of violent and bigoted attacks. On November 9th, Chosen People Ministries, in partnership with Moody Bible Institute, present the Summit on Opposing Anti-Semitism in Chicago. This event will bring together leaders, scholars, and Jewish believers in Jesus to explore effective strategies for combating anti-Semitism. The summit features distinguished keynote speakers, panel discussions, and workshops designed to equip attendees with practical tools and insights. It is vital for the Christian community to stand against anti-Semitism. Join Chosen People Ministries at Moody Bible Institute on November 9th to stand against anti-Semitism and show solidarity with the Jewish people. Register today at moodyconferences.com. That's moodyconferences.com.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Family, country, community. Ed Soliday has spent his life in service to others. A graduate of Valparaiso High School, Ed Soliday went on to attend Indiana University and served our country in the Army, where he earned the Distinguished Flying Cross, 2 Bronze Stars, and a Purple Heart. After his military service, Ed Soliday built a successful career as a pilot and flight safety expert, leading crisis management at United Airlines on 9/11. Now, Ed Soliday is serving us at the Indiana State House, where he puts people ahead of partisanship. Representative Ed Soliday is a respected voice working to protect taxpayers, secure our energy grid, and attract better-paying jobs to the region. Ed is endorsed by the Indiana Fraternal Order of Police, the Indiana State Police Alliance, and the Indiana Professional Firefighters PAC. Representative Ed Soliday. Common sense leadership for Northwest Indiana. Vote Ed Soliday for state representative on or before Tuesday, November 5th.
Paid for by friends of Ed Soliday Committee.
This is David Hochberg with an emergency mortgage alert. If you're purchasing a new home or refinancing your existing home, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. It finally happened. After 30 long and excruciating months, Fed Chair Powell just lowered interest rates a 0.5 point, which means credit cards, car and home equity loans will be lower and less expensive. Most importantly, mortgage rates have dropped to their lowest levels since last February. The past 3 years have knocked out over 60% of our competition, who are back in the mall spinning pretzels and folding underpants. Team Hochberg's weathered the storm and is ready to help you, your friends, and family reduce your rate and monthly payments. If your interest rate is 7 or above, call Team Hochberg now. Not when you get home, not tomorrow, now for a complimentary mortgage review. 855-563-2843 or 56david.com. That's 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. Lower.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 1124061.
If you're experiencing low energy, brain fog, or bloating, then your body might need a detox. Active Liver from New Nordic makes it easy to help your liver to detox your body all year long without major changes to your diet or lifestyle.
6:39, let's get a check of the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And this look at travel times, a service of the Chicago Board of Elections. Early voting in downtown Chicago now open through Election Day, November 5th. Go to the Chicago Voting Super Site at 191 North Clark or the board offices, 69 West Washington, or chicagoelections.gov for information. Eden's on the inbound side, jamming up Foster to Montrose. The Kennedy on the inbound side, already 1 hour. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Ike on the outbound side, accident reported between Cicero and East Avenue. Tri-State stop and go already northbound between the Reagan, I-88, and the Eisenhower merge. Route 53 southbound from Lake Cook Road, you're already jammed up because of an accident. It's now on both shoulders. You've got stop and go traffic from Beesterfield as well and an overturned vehicle. It's the inbound on-ramp from eastbound Route 390, the toll road, onto 290. It's causing major delays stacking up on Route 53 southbound. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Windy and mild, clouds and sun, and a high of 68. Currently 44. Your next news update at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Trump, his sit-down with Joe Rogan that went on for 3 hours on Friday, or released Friday.
Yeah, I lasted about an hour and a half, but I'll listen to the rest later. It was good. It was lighthearted. It was fun. He's just so lovable.
The biggest mistake Trump made, he was asked. And it wasn't one of those, the biggest mistake I made was not making a mistake, like Kamala gave in that town hall with Gloria Vanderbilt's kid.
What did you say? Mistake? Oh, me? Yeah, no.
The mistake a mistake that some people would make is to not be totally prepared to talk about policy, but I've never made that mistake, so I prepare. Okay, thank you. Trump was a little bit more authentic, as you would expect.
The biggest mistake I made was I picked some great people, but you don't think about that. I picked some people that I shouldn't have picked. I picked a few people that I shouldn't have picked. And
neocons?
Yeah, neocons, or bad people, or disloyal people, or
people that were just
people
bad.
That were into the
You got bad advice.
Yeah, you're reading about them a little bit today. A guy like Kelly, who was a bully, but a weak person. You know more about bullies than anybody probably around because you deal in a certain sport where the bullies are exposed very quickly.
Yeah.
But he's bad. Bolton was an idiot, but he was great for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I heard that part. Yeah.
It's also consistent with what RFK Jr. is saying about the transition team that apparently was privately funded and stood up about 90 days ago, and includes RFK Jr., includes Tulsi Gabbard, includes people that come from different philosophical perspectives. But there's a group it doesn't include, and RFK Jr. in a recent interview emphasized this.
I've talked to Donald Trump specifically about this, and he said to me, I said, look, the last time you were in there, you put John Bolton in charge of NSA and Mike Pompeo in charge of the CIA and the State Department, and you put an oil guy, in charge of Department of Interior, a coal guy in charge of EPA, and a telecom lobbyist in charge of FCC, and pharma lobbyist as head of HHS and FDA, Scott Gottlieb. And he said, here's the difference. He said, when I got in last time, I had no idea how to govern. And I got surrounded by donors and corporate people who said, you appoint this guy and appoint that guy. And he said, I appointed a lot of bad people. Now, I was listening this morning to this extraordinary interview that Donald Trump did with Joe Rogan yesterday. And he said during that interview, he talked specifically about John Bolton. He said, a donor got me to appoint him. And he said, he's a great guy. He turned out, and this is what he said. He said, he's a really bad guy. And he said, this time I'm not going to do that. He told us that. And what he did, he didn't just promise that, but he did something no other president's done before. Normally, the transition team is not created until November 6th because GAO, the General Accounting Office, pays for all the costs of the transition team. Trump said, I'm not going to do it this time. I'm not going to do it their way. I'm going to start my own transition team 3 months early. And he got private donors. He got private donors to fund it. And he's appointed 20 people, including me and Tulsi. And there's people of all different kinds of ideology and people who we're going to have to go up against on that transition team and fight for our vision. But I can tell you this, which is unique, there are no corporate lobbyists on that campaign, on that transition team. And usually it's 100% corporate lobbyists. So it's very, very different, and it gives me lots of hope that this government is going to be different than any government we've ever seen.
Which is consistent with what VDH, Victor Davis Hanson, told me last week about the resumes that are coming in. Now we know where they're coming in, too, since they're sort of in the inside world, they know of these things and how different it's going to be. So not to mention RFK talking about the composition of the transition team and that seeming to indicate that Trump recognizes some of the personnel decisions he made were not great ones. And as RFK Jr. said, things are going to be different. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by journalist and best-selling author Lee Smith. You know him from his books, including The Permanent Coup and The Plot Against the President. He has a new book out, Disappearing the President, Trump, Truth Social, and the Fight for the Republic. Disappearing the President is Lee Smith's new book, and he joins us now. Lee, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Hey, good morning. Thank you for inviting me on this morning.
What do you take away from the combination of what Trump said on Rogan plus what you heard from RFK about that transition team?
These guys all have a problem with John Bolton. John Bolton was the national security advisor. I'll tell you what Trump told me about John Bolton. He said, a lot of people didn't like Bolton, but Bolton did okay because every time I walked into a room with John Bolton, people were terrified the guy was such a lunatic. So John Bolton he's not the bad pick that Donald Trump made. In the interview with Rogan, he's right. John Kelly is a real problem. John Kelly is an enduring problem for Donald Trump. But really the biggest problem was William Barr. And I have that in the book. Trump talks about that, about William Barr being being a very bad pick, being a very bad guy. And this is something that if Donald Trump is elected, that they have to get right, coming right out of the gate. He has to get the right attorney general because they have to change the DOJ. They have to get rid of at least the top 20 people there. And then among those 20 people, they have to get other lawyers in there to get rid of hundreds and thousands, maybe not thousands, but certainly hundreds of other people. So that's the big issue, right? Bobby Kennedy has his own ideas about what's good for the country and what's bad. So he doesn't like John Bolton and Mike Pompeo, which is fine. And as he said, that's the kind of thing that should be debated and fought over with all these people who are putting together the transition team. But the real issue, the real problem that Trump has to focus on if he wins, and I know that he knows this because of what he told me about William Barr, the key position is Attorney General of the United States. That person has to go in there immediately. And I'll tell you, this is what the left is concerned of, because you hear them talking about, Trump is going to jail his political opponents. Well, Trump is going to find out the different people who broke the law and the different things they did during his first term and the different people who have done very, very bad things during Joe Biden's term. So they're right to be concerned that a Donald Trump Justice Department will rebalance the scales of justice.
Well, when and why did Trump's relationship with William Barr go sour?
I'll tell you, I didn't really understand until researching the book Barr's background. Right? A lot of people say, well, he started at the CIA. Well, yeah, that's not the problem. That whenever people say CIA, they're looking to get a lot of attention because the CIA is big, it gets the spotlight all the time. Barr's problem was he set up a mass surveillance program with Robert Mueller in 1992. Now, had loyal Trump allies understood exactly where William Barr was coming from and what William Barr was about, it might have been a very different thing. But also, Barr was very sneaky. He auditioned for that job. With a long memo, he made different comments to make it appear before he was hired, before he was appointed, that made it seem that as though he was on Trump's side. So Barr came in, and Barr did one good thing, which was to end Robert Mueller's special counsel investigation, and that was it. After that, William Barr played to stall, and the big problem we saw was since no one ever paid a price for what happened leading into the 2016 election, by which I mean spying on the Trump campaign, because no one was ever held responsible for that. The same thing was going to happen for 2020. And that's precisely what happened.
But just in 2016, I mean, part of that was Trump's decision, too. Trump's decision not to go after Hillary Clinton, as well as and to some extent it was taken out of their hands. Now, I'd be interested in the dynamic here, but the Durham special prosecution, Durham is the special prosecutor looking at the Russian collusion investigation, and how interminable that took, such that obviously it didn't get done until after the 2020 election.
Right. That's what I mean, because there were no. You saw how Barr played that out. He strung that out. Well, because of COVID and other problems, it appears that there's nothing that's going to happen before the summer.
But was that on Barr or was that on Durham?
Well, that was Barr's announcement. But I mean, Barr could have said, "Look, here's what we need. We need indictments by July 4th. If we don't have them, we will be incentivizing, again, election interference in 2020. Now, if you can't get that done for me in a month and a half, because we saw what Robert Mueller did in a very short period, if you can't get that done for me in a month and a half, I'm going to bring someone in here who can get it done, because we can't run another election like the one that was run in 2016 when these guys are spying on the Republican candidate for the president of the United States. So don't tell me about COVID. Don't tell me about the problems on your team. You get this done or you're gone. That's it. And clearly William Barr didn't do that. So, right, while John Durham proved to be a significant disappointment, it's up to Barr. It's up to the Attorney General of the United States to make that happen.
And he also, I mean, it seemed like slow walked the investigation into the Biden crime family, including with the special prosecutor.
There was never any investigation in the Biden crime family. This is one of the tragedies that's happened to our country, and this is one of the things. This is why Trump needs to appoint a real attorney general right away, because and if he's elected, because the FBI right now, when we hear that the FBI has it under investigation, when they're referring to allies of the Democratic Party or Democratic Party officials, all the investigation means is they're burying it, right? They can't talk about it because we have it under an active investigation. There's a recent leak from somewhere in the Biden administration regarding Israel's plans for its attack on Iran. And, we hear the FBI is investigating it. The FBI is not investigating it. Right? The FBI is burying the information. So there was never any active investigation of Hunter Biden. I mean, the FBI worked to bury it by censoring news of Hunter Biden's laptop. So, again, this is something that the Attorney General has to do right off the bat. I don't know whether Christopher Wray has to go or whether he's one of these, spineless bureaucrats that you can bully around and say, hey, here's how it's going to go from now on, Director Wray. You're playing for Team Justice, not for Team Obama. So,
I can't imagine him staying.
I can't either. I think
he'd resign.
Even if he's a spineless bureaucrat, how can you have him around? He has no credibility with probably more than half the country for various reasons, but certainly MAGA world for obvious reasons, including J6.
Well, I agree. One of the issues is, though, if it's a lot easier to get him to cooperate into investigations of the corruption that he was in charge of.
He was a part of?
If he's still there. You can still do it if he's gone. Look, I'm certainly not pushing for keeping Christopher Wray around.
Yeah.
Right? He's not a good guy. What I'm saying is the core position, when we talk about everything that has to be done, that the Trump team has to be done, if the idea is, well, he has to go around and he has to do this and do this, he can't spend 3.5 years fighting the deep state. And that's one of the cases I make in my book.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're talking about 10,000 people, maybe more. You can't say, here's what losing looks like. Losing looks like we're going to hire 500 lawyers to push around paper to get rid of 25,000 bureaucrats, right? And that's what fighting the deep state means. That's losing, right? What they have to do is two things. There are two crucial things. First of all is get a new attorney general. Number two, the investigations that need to be set up all must point to Barack Obama, right? What I do in the book is I show the different campaigns, whether it's censorship, surveillance, political violence, election interference, even the COVID lockdowns. The origin point is all with Barack Obama. Right? This is what the focus has to be on. This is what the world looks like. Bureaucrats don't run the world, right? Even in ancient Egypt, bureaucrats didn't run the world. It was Pharaoh, right? There are real leaders who are pushing around money, who are asking for money to advance different interests and causes, right? So what I do in the book is I identify the different people around Obama, which I call the shadow network, and the names are not surprising. It's people like George Soros. It's people like election lawyer Mark Elias, Norm Eisen, other donors, other billionaires, other oligarchs. And these are the people who are behind what's been going on the last 8 years. It's not a mysterious, amorphous entity known as the deep state. Again, these are fights that will not save the republic. These are fights that are unending and finally unwinnable to fight the so-called deep state. We really have to focus on this. And again, the key is going to be making sure that the Department of Justice is run by an attorney general who must right the scales of justice.
Do you have a preference in mind?
A lot of people have talked about John Ratcliffe. He's worked at the DOJ before. I think there are probably other people as well, but certainly I know that this is the top of Donald Trump's mind, because you just need someone. You can't fix the problems anywhere else. There are problems all throughout the bureaucracy, whether it's the CIA,
of course,
whether it's Treasury, whether it's Department of Commerce, agriculture, all throughout the bureaucracy. But you can't do anything unless you have someone at DOJ at the top of that very powerful bureaucracy, making sure that things are run well. And remember, it's not just Washington; those are the U.S. attorneys around the country. Yeah. Right. So that's the first thing that really needs to happen. I mean, the John Bolton stories are funny because Bolton's a character, and Bolton's he's a great cartoon villain. But the issue is not John Bolton. Finally, it's the bad guy. John Kelly is a bad guy. William Barr is a bad guy, and that's precisely what Donald Trump says in Disappearing the President. William Barr was a bad guy. He's a coward. He was a bad guy. So got to get a good guy in there at the top of DOJ right away.
Lee Smith, best-selling author of The Permanent Coup and The Plot Against the President. The new book, as he was just discussing, Disappearing the President, Trump, Truth Social, and the Fight for the Republic. Disappearing the President by Lee Smith. Lee, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on this morning.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line. Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We'll talk about some of those bad guys in the brass, military brass, with Stephen Bucci at 7:07.
But now let's head straight into that newsroom, get caught up on the latest news. Here's Mike Scott.
A fiery crash near Woodstock kills 3. Pedestrian killed in a Skokie hit and run. Chicago police are warning of an armed robbery spree in the Auburn-Gresham neighborhood. Federal candidates swarming Wisconsin this week. One is injured in a South Bend shooting. Bears lose a heartbreaker against the Commanders, and the Bulls fall to the Thunder. WIND Chicago News Time, 7 o'clock.
Donald Trump throws himself a homecoming party. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. After speeches from famous supporters like Elon Musk, Hulk Hogan, and Rudy Giuliani, the former president fires up the crowd filling Madison Square Garden in New York City, introduced by his wife, Melania.
New York City and America needs their magic back.
On issue after issue, Kamala broke it, but I will fix it. We're going to fix it.
Vice President Harris at an event in Philadelphia says Trump's economic plans, including tariffs, will cost Americans money.
Donald Trump will impose a 20% Trump national sales tax on everyday basic necessities, which will cost, the economists have measured it, will cost the average family nearly $4,000 a year. On the other hand, I will take on an issue like corporate price gouging.
President Biden plans to vote today.
President Biden will cast his ballot early this morning in his hometown of Wilmington, Delaware, the White House says. A growing number of Americans are taking advantage of early voting, either in person or by mail. Nearly 42 million people have already voted early, according to data from the University of Florida's election lab. In Washington, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
A popular fast food item is back after an E. coli outbreak.
McDonald's says Quarter Pounders will be back on the menu, but will not contain slivered onions from a Taylor Farms facility in Colorado Springs. The produce company is the supplier of fresh onions used by hundreds of restaurants involved in the E. coli outbreak that sickened at least 75 people in 13 states. An analysis by the FDA determined those uncooked onions are likely the source of contamination. McDonald's says testing has ruled out beef patties as the source.
Fox's Kathleen Maloney. North Korean troops have arrived in Russia's Kursk border region to help fight an incursion by Ukraine's military. America's listening to Fox.
44 degrees at 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Washington came away with a win over the Bears in shocking fashion. It was a Hail Mary from Jaden Daniels to Noah Brown that gave Washington an 18-15 win. Head coach Matt Eberflus thought the win was locked down after a rough first half.
Pointed. When you lose a game like that, that's a tough one to swallow after coming back. But also told them in the same conversation that was really excited that, how they battled back.
DeAndre Swift had a touchdown, 129 yards on the ground. Chicago drops to 4-3 on the year. The Cardinals are next. 3 were killed and a juvenile seriously injured after a multi-vehicle crash Sunday near Woodstock. Illinois State Representative Bob Rita expected to be back on the witness stand today at the bribery and racketeering trial of former Illinois House Speaker Democrat Michael Madigan. Rita also took the stand in the ComEd 4 trial last year. A man was fatally hit and run, struck in Skokie yesterday near Crawford and Kirk. Police say the man was crossing the street when a dark-colored vehicle hit him and then fled the scene. Bill Beavers, the former Chicago 7th Ward Alderman and Cook County Commissioner, died early Saturday morning. Beavers was convicted in Cook County on 4 counts of tax evasion in 2013, sentenced to 6 months in federal prison. Chicago sports. The Bulls take on Memphis tonight. Blackhawks battle the Avalanche, and the Fighting Illini drop to number 24 in the country. They had no answers in a loss to number 1 Oregon. The news, a service of In Grace with Jim Scudder Jr., now heard Sunday morning at 7:30 on AM 560. Tune in and find hope right here on AM 560. The Answer. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The lineup for Freedom Summit Chicago 2024 just got bigger with the addition of Dinesh D'Souza. He joins Dr. Sebastian Gorka and economist Steve Moore, along with Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, Jeannie Ives, and many more. This event will sell out, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Breakthrough Ideas, Woodland Windows and Doors, and by Quick Delivery Service.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Have you heard about this guy, Donald Rainwater?
I sure have. Guy was a deadbeat dad. Total loser. Not only did Rainwater repeatedly fail to pay his child support, he filed for bankruptcy and had his car repossessed. But what did a court find he spent the money on? Cigarettes.
Hasn't he run for office twice before and lost each time?
Sure has. Maybe that's why he wants the job, so taxpayers pay off all his debts.
But there's someone even worse than Rainwater. This Jennifer McCormick character is a really out there liberal.
Yeah, she's a pro-Biden and pro-Kamala liberal. She opposed school choice, she supports boys in the girls' locker room, and did you hear what she said about Hillary Clinton?
Did you vote for Hillary Clinton?
She had some great, world foreign experience, so I did vote for Hillary Clinton.
Jennifer McCormick, she's hopelessly liberal.
I'm not voting for Rainwater or McCormick. They're both losers in my book.
Paid for by Indiana Republican State Committee, Inc.
The socialists who want to move into the White House have a lot of plans for your money. One of them is to control the price of food, and this is just the start. Could 401ks and IRAs be next on their agenda? It might sound far-fetched, but so did price fixing just months ago. Hi, Donald Trump Jr. here. If you've spent decades building your nest egg, you can act now to stop your savings from falling into the hands of the socialists. It's why Americans are turning to gold, the ultimate safe haven in uncertain times. To see how easy it is to diversify your retirement with gold, get a free info kit from my friends at Birch Gold by texting the word PROTECT to 989898. Birch Gold makes it easy to roll over your 401k or IRA into gold while preserving your tax advantage status. Don't wait any longer. Protect your financial future now. Text PROTECT to the number 989898 for your free info kit from Birch Gold, the only gold company I trust.
Paid for by Birch Gold Group.
This is Sean Thompson. When you go on vacation, does it make sense to have somebody else pack for you? Of course not. The same can be said for your retirement. Your 401k could be packed with things you don't know about or even need. If you're close to retirement, but you don't have a plan customized to your goals, it's like kind of taking a 30-year vacation with no idea what's in the suitcase. Sounds like a stressful way to begin what should be a relaxing time. Tom Fortino at Alpha Wealth Group can help you unpack your savings and build a plan to reduce future taxes, address Social Security and health care, and a whole lot more, all with a clear, defined income strategy. Call the Alpha Wealth Group at 630-934-1855. Ask for the complimentary retirement plan. That's 630-934-1855 or online at alphawealthgroup.com. And listen to the Alpha Wealth Hour Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. right here on AM 560.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
7:07. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And this update is a service of Trim Light Chicago. Don't let hanging holiday lights get you in a Scrooge mood. 'Tis the season to save time, money, and energy with permanent programmable holiday lighting for your home. Get your free quote today at trimlight-chicago.com. Inbound Edens, 20 Lake Cook Road to the junction. The Kennedy at an hour 10, O'Hare to the Burns Circle interchange. Outbound Ike, you've got a crash on the right shoulder between Cicero and Harlem Avenue. Dan Ryan Express lanes all jammed up inbound between Pershing and 31st. Route 53, you're slow southbound between Higgins and the 390 toll road with ongoing work there on an entrance ramp crash eastbound from 390. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Becoming windy and mild, some clouds and sun. A high today at 68. Cloudy tonight, a warm breeze and a low 62. Windy and warm, some sun and clouds for tomorrow. Bit of a high fire risk. The high tomorrow, 82. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
44 right now. Next news, 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Sean Spicer, former White House spokesbeing back in the day, Trump's first term. Spicy.
Yeah.
He was on with Megyn Kelly on her podcast, and amidst all the swirl over the Bob Woodward book and the pronouncements from the military brass, the Mark Milley's and the John Kellys, they got into a interesting conversation. Spicer gave some good inside perspective on the personality clashes between some of those members of the military brass and the president over ego and how much that may be driving their public denouncements.
Given I watched it
constantly in the Oval Office. Two people would come in, give him two versions of a policy, and then he would choose one person. The other person would walk out of there and say, fine, I'm going to find people to undermine your argument. I'm going to leak it to the press. People around him have big egos. And when he said, I mean, I watched him bring in a bunch. We were talking about Afghanistan policy one day, and he said, I want 10 enlisted soldiers to come in that have served in Afghanistan. And he sat them around a table and said, tell me about your experience. And it pissed a lot of people off that he wasn't taking the advice of the more senior people and asking the actual enlisted folks, tell me what your experience has been. Did you understand the mission? Are we winning? Are we moving forward? Were you getting the equipment and the tools that you needed? They hated that. They hated the fact that they came in, gave their PowerPoint presentation, and they were being undermined by a guy who didn't just sign off on it with like a blank check. So I think Washington is full of a lot of guys with a lot of big egos that don't like the fact that when they come into a room, everyone doesn't just say, oh, great idea, let's move forward. Some of them didn't like that.
Including in the military.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people. I watched it all the time, and Trump would blow up and say, we're not just doing the same thing over and over again. And I think for people who are used to the system that said, oh, well, this is the way it's always been, they were pissed.
Well, boy, those 10 enlisted that he brought in to talk about Afghanistan, they should have planned the Afghan withdrawal. It couldn't have gone worse.
No, couldn't have.
Stephen Bucci served America for 3 decades as an Army Special Forces officer and top Pentagon official, now a visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. Stephen, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
It's always my pleasure to be on the show. Thank you for having me back again.
Too close to home, big military brass with big egos, not being listened to. Does that sound right?
Well, it doesn't bother me. I wasn't that high, so I'm not insulted by that. Look, yeah, I mean, there isn't an issue of that. I wasn't in the Trump administration. I was in the George W. Bush administration, but working for Secretary Rumsfeld as I did see that. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember back far enough, but when Rumsfeld first started the first year or two before 9/11, particularly, people were like, oh, God, he's going to be the first guy fired from the administration.
Yeah.
None of the military guys, think anything of him. He's wrong about everything. And what I saw was Rumsfeld picked people off because, like Trump, very different kind of guy, very different personality, but still that same CEO, look, guys, we're not going to do it the same way we've always done it kind of attitude. They would get upset that they would come in with their briefing and they'd give it to him and he'd say, that doesn't make any sense. You haven't convinced me. Well, sir, this is very technical. You should just accept our opinion and approve it. And he'd look at him and go, no, I'm not going to do that. You make the case. I'll give you another time. He'd look at me, Bucci, take him out, schedule another briefing, but no for now. And that would happen quite often. And suddenly all these people were saying Rumsfeld is just, he doesn't know what he's talking about. The fact that he had been the Secretary of Defense already apparently didn't, register with these folks. But this whole ego issue is a legitimate one to consider. And the military's not immune to it by any means, for sure.
No, and plus he made everybody stand up during meetings, I understand, too, so you don't get too comfortable in the meeting, which they probably didn't like either. Probably wanted a cup of coffee and to relax.
Well, he didn't do that for every meeting, but he did do it for some. You're right.
But the other thing that Spicer and others were talking about too is it's sort of you have this other element too of the DC press corps, and so then these guys that have some status and feel very good about themselves, if they're not listened to or if they don't get what they want, then they run to the press and they leak this stuff and they create these controversies that are really not controversies. They're disagreements, which is a good thing to have disagreements and then figure out what makes the most sense after some careful consideration. But they turn disagreements into existential crises in the administration that they're simply not.
That is 100% right. That was my experience both in the administration and observing the subsequent ones. When Vindman, the fat lieutenant colonel that was on the National Security Council staff, who decided because President Trump, the elected leader of the country, did not take word for word his recommendation on Ukraine policy, that somehow that was an impeachable offense. And that, after all, he was the guy in the seat. They should just do what he says. And this guy's a lieutenant colonel. He's not even a senior person, for goodness sake. And he was a young lieutenant colonel at that. And he thought that was something that was impeachable. And, the Dems took it and ran with it because they thought that was, a great smoking gun. Similarly, when President Trump came in the last time, I don't know if you remember the controversy about his presidential daily intelligence brief, right? That they said, "Oh my God, the president," he said, the briefer, "Look, if all you're doing is telling me what happened last night, send me a memo and a copy of the newspaper, and I'll read it. If I have questions, I'll call you." And everybody said, "Oh my God, he's totally disrespecting the intelligence community." It's like the left suddenly liked the intel guys. It was really kind of weird. But that's ridiculous. Every president that comes in gets to define how the PDB is given. President Bush had a briefer. President Obama got it on an iPad, and the briefer sat outside if there were questions. So, to sit there and think because President Trump didn't like the way those first couple were given to him, that's somehow some existential crime is ludicrous. But you're right. When people get their feelings hurt in Washington, the first thing they do, and frankly, this is unprofessional and should be squashed, is they run and leak it to the press. And, that's just, to me, as a military officer, I find that reprehensible. When other military officers, particularly senior ones, do it, it causes me to lose all respect for them in ways that you just can't understand. That's not accepted within the military, but then if you get high enough in the military and you want to do it to the civilians, somehow that's okay. And I don't think it is.
Elise Stefanik, representative from New York, put this piece in the Wall Street Journal about Christopher Wray stonewalling her on the threat from Iran when it comes to election interference. September 19th, FBI delivered its final pre-election closed briefing to the Intel Committee on Foreign Malign Election Interference. A day earlier, DOJ had revealed Iranian agents had hacked the Trump campaign. There's these stories about trying to get the communications from Trump and Vance's phones. Anyway, she said, I sent all these questions on October 7th to Christopher Wray, and he's not responding. When and how did the FBI learn of the initial Iranian efforts targeting the Trump campaign? Sort of what did you know and when did you know it? Is the Biden Harris or Harris Walls, are they being targeted as well? Just a list of about 15 questions that she would like answered just to provide an understanding of the threat level and what the FBI is doing about it and what she can communicate about the integrity of the election not being compromised by foreign malign influences like the Iranians. That seemed like a reasonable posture that Stefanik is taking to get some questions answered and be able to share some general information with the public?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I don't know what Christopher Wray's issue was. I thought when he was nominated, okay, this he's an inside FBI guy. He's not some political person. This should work out really well. And he's turned out to be, one of the worst I've ever seen. He doesn't feel the need to cooperate with Congress at all unless it fits a narrative he's trying to push. And he just basically blows them off. Unfortunately, Congress, for the most part, because the Dems were agreeing with the stuff he was trying to hide or propagate, they just let him get away with it. I find it ridiculous that these appointed people think they can just do whatever they darn well please and blow off the other branches of government. in some cases, even their own branch of government. It's just, I find it very concerning to me that we have all these folks who think they're just free actors in our system.
Stephen Bucci served America for 3 decades as Army Special Forces officer and top Pentagon official. We were just reminiscing about the Rumsfeld days. He's now a visiting fellow in the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. Stephen Bucci, thank you as always.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Let's get real. Did you wake up this morning with joint pain? Does it hurt doing the most routine activities? Have they told you it's time for knee or hip replacement surgery? Hi, it's Amy Jacobson, and stop what you're doing and listen. You deserve a life of comfort and ease with no surgery and no meds. And if you're a good candidate for these new treatments, QC Kinetics can get you there. Folks, it's an all-natural approach that harnesses your body's own healing properties to treat the root cause of your arthritic pain. Tens of thousands of satisfied patients with more every day. Yes, you can have real lasting relief from chronic joint pain without drugs, without surgery, without downtime. Learn about all of your options at QC Kinetics. The consultation is free with Saturday appointments available. Call 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. QC Kinetics. Call 312-809-5955.
All right. Is a member of your family headed to college soon? Paying for college and avoiding long-term student loan debt has never been more challenging. And attorney Ray Kaplan at Kaplan Law Firm is here to help you and your family make informed decisions and plan smarter for college. She'll help you navigate and understand all the available student loan options, and there are a lot out there, so do it with the best, and don't do it alone. Set up your family for financial success. Plan college expenses together with attorney Ray Kaplan at Kaplan Law Firm. Schedule a consultation today. Call this number, 312-294-8989. That's 312-294-8989. You can fill out the contact form online at financialrelief.com. That's financialrelief.com, Kaplan Law Firm.
This is Sean Thompson. When you go on vacation, does it make sense to have somebody else pack for you? Of course not. The same can be said for your retirement. Your 401k could be packed with things you don't know about or even need. If you're close to retirement, but you don't have a plan customized to your goals, it's like kind of taking a 30-year vacation with no idea what's in the suitcase. Sounds like a stressful way to begin what should be a relaxing time. Tom Fortino at Alpha Wealth Group can help you unpack your savings and build a plan to reduce future taxes, address Social Security and health care, and a whole lot more, all with a clear, defined income strategy. Call the Alpha Wealth Group at 630-934-1855. Ask for the complimentary retirement plan. That's 630-934-1855 or online at alphawealthgroup.com. And listen to the Alpha Wealth Hour Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. right here on AM 560.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
This season, don't forget your Balance of Nature supplements, a proud supporter of this radio station for more than 10 years. Remember, pumpkin pie ice cream, they don't provide the fruits and vegetables your body desperately needs every day to stay healthy, happy, and energized. That's why I've been supplementing with Balance of Nature for nearly a decade. It's really so easy to open up the individual capsules, dust them over a salad, or mix them into a juice drink, a smoothie. That's how I do it. And thousands of AM 560 listeners love their Balance of Nature, and you will too. Try it out. 6 capsules a day provides your body, heart, and mind with several servings of 31 different whole fruits and vegetables. You'll love it. Your body, mind, and heart will thank you for it. Order your fruits and veggie supplements today by calling 800-246-8751, 800-246-8751. Use coupon code Chicago to save 35%, or go online to balanceofnature.com and use coupon code Chicago to save 35%.
We know what a woman is, and at Natural Womanhood, we believe that a woman's fertility is beautiful, powerful, and healthy, not something to be controlled or destroyed by doctors and big pharma. Women deserve better. Women deserve to know and claim the uniqueness of their natural female bodies. Women deserve access to authentic, holistic, and restorative reproductive health solutions. Women deserve to know they have real solutions beyond birth control for treating menstrual cycles issues or for family planning. Options without harmful side effects. Natural Womanhood produces high-quality, informative articles, podcasts, and videos to empower women to know and love their bodies. Find evidence-based information about birth control issues and alternatives, cycle issues like endometriosis, infertility, IVF, and more. Break free from big pharma, get healthier, learn how to work with your doctor to diagnose and treat cycle issues, or learn how to start conversations with resources from Natural Womanhood. Access the latest articles and podcasts, or even get a free consultation at naturalwomanhood.org. Visit naturalwomanhood.org today.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Hi, I'm Mark Rice, former Texan, energy entrepreneur, family man, and football coach. I'm running for U.S. Congress in the 8th Congressional District. It's time for something different. We've all had enough of losing to the Democrats and the corrupt career politicians that are ruining our state and cities. I'll take action and bring some common sense to Congress. I'm not afraid to meet head-on the challenges we face daily, like the border situation, crime in our neighborhoods, inflation of everyday items like food, gas, and medical needs. We need to protect our freedoms, and I'm the person to get the job done. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Support my campaign in the 8th District, and let's take back our country, one House seat at a time. Vote for me, Mark Rice, for Congress. Go to rice4congress.com to get involved. I'm Mark Rice, and I approve this message. Paid for by Mark Rice for Congress Committee.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving MyPillow with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss and your gain. For the first time ever, you'll get a standard classic MyPillow for wholesale prices, only $14.88. But it gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer their entire classic collection at wholesale prices. Get queen-size MyPillows for just $18.88. Upgrade to king-size for only $1 more. Get the body pillows for $29.88 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.88. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to take advantage of wholesale pricing for the first time ever and receive free shipping on orders over $75. That's right. Get the standard MyPillow for only $14.88. They have never been offered this low before. They're limited quantities at this price, so the limit is going to be 10, and once they're gone, they're gone. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY to get the standard MyPillow for only $14.88, the lowest price ever.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Have you heard about this guy, Donald Rainwater?
I sure have. Guy was a deadbeat dad. Total loser. Not only did Rainwater repeatedly fail to pay his child support, he filed for bankruptcy and had his car repossessed. But what did a court find he spent the money on? Cigarettes.
Hasn't he run for office twice before and lost each time?
Sure has. Maybe that's why he wants the job, so taxpayers pay off all his debts.
But there's someone even worse than Rainwater. This Jennifer McCormick character is a really out there liberal.
Yeah, she's a pro-Biden and pro-Kamala liberal. She opposed school choice, she supports boys in the girls' locker room, and did you hear what she said about Hillary Clinton?
Did you vote for Hillary Clinton?
She had some great, world foreign experience. So I did vote for Hillary Clinton.
Jennifer McCormick, she's hopelessly liberal.
I'm not voting for Rainwater or McCormick. They're both losers in my book.
Paid for by Indiana Republican State Committee, Inc.
This is Hugh Hewitt for townhall.com. The 2024 election is well underway, and I've already voted for Trump and Vance. Here in Virginia, I also got to vote for retired Navy Captain Hung Cao, one of 6 Republicans who are veterans running for the Senate this year. Cao is running along with an Indiana Navy vet, now Congressman Jim Banks. In Nevada, West Point grad Sam Brown is stepping up to serve again after being grievously injured by an IED in Afghanistan. In Montana, former Navy SEAL Tim Sheehy is solidly ahead in the polls. Republicans are also competitive with more traditional GOP candidates, but in states that are usually layups for Democrats. Watch former Governor Larry Hogan in Maryland, businessman Eric Hovde in Wisconsin, who has incumbent Tammy Baldwin running scared, and Carrie Lake, of course, gaining in Arizona as voters recognize that Ruben Gallegos is a genuine radical. The groundswell may be shifting nationally towards Trump. If so, Trump may help pull these good Senate nominees over the line as well. Make sure you vote. I'm Hugh Hewitt.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, I don't know if you caught Kamala over the weekend in Philly donning the cloak of the Baptist minister. That was
That's a good one, yeah.
something to behold.
Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. The path may seem hard, the work may seem heavy, but joy cometh in the morning, and church morning is on its way.
Yeah.
Was that before or after she got drunk in a bar?
She ain't no ways tired. I got it. And then it went on a little bit more. It was a raucous affair.
Yeah, I think
fun.
that's from Blues Brothers, right?
Oh, nice catch. I didn't know if you'd catch that. Yeah, very good. James Brown unavailable, unfortunately.
Oh, too soon, Dan. All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 7:37, new cops leaving the Chicago Police Department. Gee, I wonder why. We'll start there with retired police chief from Riverside, Tom Weitzel, at 7:37.
And why won't Mayor Johnson give that little Dirk money back? Maybe he spent it. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike.
7:32 on AM 560, and Vice President Harris campaigning in Michigan for the second straight day. She and running mate Tim Walz will be in Ann Arbor. Over the weekend, Harris was at a rally in Kalamazoo with former First Lady Michelle Obama. Former President Trump continues his push for the White House following a rally at Madison Square Garden.
I'm going to let him go wild on health. I'm going to let him go wild on the food. I'm going to let him go wild on medicines.
Robert F. Kennedy, also a guest of Trump at that event, promising to fix what he says Kamala Harris has broken. Egypt's president says his country has proposed a 2-day ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, in which up to 4 hostages held in Gaza would be freed. Lyft will pay just over $2 million in penalties to the FTC for deceptive claims, all related to how much money drivers can earn. The DOJ complaint says ads by Lyft only use the hourly wages of the top 20% of drivers. Well, Shohei is okay to play. Word from Los Angeles on Shohei Ohtani having a partially dislocated left shoulder. He did that trying to steal second base in Saturday night's Game 2 Dodgers win over the Yankees. Washington came away with a win over the Bears in shocking fashion on Sunday, 18-15. DeAndre Swift had 129 yards and a TD on the ground. Chicago drops to 4-3 on the year. 3 were killed and a juvenile seriously hurt in a multi-vehicle crash Sunday near Woodstock. Illinois State Representative Bob Rita is expected back on the witness stand today in the bribery and racketeering trial of former Illinois House Speaker, Democrat Michael Madigan. The Bulls lost to OKC over the weekend and are at Memphis later on tonight. The Blackhawks will visit the Avalanche. The news service of Crosscom Public Adjusters. If your home or business has an insurance claim, Crosscom will help you get what you need and have coming to you. They've helped thousands. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Larry Elder exposes another double standard.
So Kamala Harris says she works at McDonald's. Don't you think the media ought to be doing the fact-checking? If Donald Trump said he worked at McDonald's, the media would have put together an army of reporters descending upon McDonald's headquarters, demanding payroll records to corroborate or refute Donald Trump's allegation.
The Larry Elder Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
So the body knows that it needs to heal itself, but it doesn't know how to concentrate it and target it into just one area. So that's where we come in.
By we, Dr. Ashley Caravelli means the nation's leader in regenerative medicine.
QC Kinetics.
We put in those treatments, then it sends out like little signalers to your body. We're able to make the body focus on the areas that need the most healing.
QC Kinetics has gathered brilliant medical minds like Dr. Caravelli and Dr. Mitchell Scheinkup, a pioneer in the field of regenerative medicine, to lead the way in these innovative pain treatments.
So at QC Kinetics, we have a whole team working nationwide with cutting-edge research to reach our patients and treat them and know that surgery is no longer their only option.
The consultation is free. Find out if you're a candidate. Call QC Kinetics today.
Call QC Kinetics, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
Attention, anyone with high blood pressure.
If you want to seriously control your blood pressure and not be a walking time bomb,
Order 120 Life today.
120 Life is an amazing blend of superfruit juices that can actually help lower your blood pressure. It's been endorsed by thousands of health professionals and doesn't have the side effects of medication.
With ingredients that have shown to naturally help control blood pressure, 120 Life could be the natural game changer in your life.
Try it for yourself, risk-free, with a 2-week trial pack.
Go to 120life.com and use coupon code 560 to save 15% and get free shipping.
120 Life is so sure it can noticeably lower your blood pressure in just 2 weeks, they'll give you your money back if you're not satisfied.
Order the 8-ounce drink or powdered mix. From pomegranates to cranberries, it's the delicious way to lower blood pressure.
Go to 120life.com now. Use coupon code 560 to save 15% and get free shipping.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Family, country, community. Ed Soliday has spent his life in service to others. A graduate of Valparaiso High School, Ed Soliday went on to attend Indiana University and served our country in the Army, where he earned the Distinguished Flying Cross, 2 Bronze Stars, and a Purple Heart. After his military service, Ed Soliday built a successful career as a pilot and flight safety expert, leading crisis management at United Airlines on 9/11. Now, Ed Soliday is serving us at the Indiana State House, where he puts people ahead of partisanship. Representative Ed Soliday is a respected voice working to protect taxpayers, secure our energy grid, and attract better-paying jobs to the region. Ed is endorsed by the Indiana Fraternal Order of Police, the Indiana State Police Alliance, and the Indiana Professional Firefighters PAC. Representative Ed Soliday. Common sense leadership for Northwest Indiana. Vote Ed Soliday for state representative on or before Tuesday, November 5th.
Paid for by friends of Ed Soliday Committee.
Is thinning hair or a receding hairline making you self-conscious? Try Hair Grow from New Nordic. Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start feeling your best with Hair Grow.
7:38. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center. Time? And this update is service of almostfreeteeth.com. What if you could save on average 90% for dental implants and get 100% of your smile back with the Blue Cross Blue Shield, PPO or FEP? It's possible. Check if you qualify. Almostfreeteeth.com. Eden's inbound, 20 minutes. Lake Cook Road to the junction. The Kennedy at an hour 14. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. On the Ike inbound, your entrance ramp is reopened from 390 to the inbound 290. But it's 1 hour in from 390 all the way in to the old post office. Outbound, you've got an accident right shoulder on the Ike between Cicero and Harlem Avenue. It's a 3-vehicle accident being shoved off to the side. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Windy and mild. Clouds and sun today. High 68. Cloudy and warm overnight, low 62. It's 44 right now. Your next news update is at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. The violence in Chicago continues to be the story, and it continues to rear its ugly head in places you wouldn't expect, including the shooting of a man who was walking on his way to synagogue in West Rogers Park. Fox Chicago has the story.
This was a brazen shooting in broad daylight. Police telling us the gunman even shot at paramedics with gunfire striking an ambulance. It's a community filled with Jewish Orthodox families. Residents we spoke to say it feels like a hate crime. The crime scene spanned multiple blocks. The 39-year-old victim was walking down the street when police say he was shot in the shoulder. Neighbors say he was going to his synagogue.
Responding officers responded to the scene, and as they were on the scene, at about 9:55, the offender reemerged from an alley and fired shots at the officers and at the responding paramedics.
Deputy Chief Kevin Bruno told reporters over the next 2.5 minutes, the gunman emerged from various locations, exchanging gunfire with police. The chaos kicked off in the 2600 block of Farwell at 9:30 a.m. However, it ended in the 6800 block of Washtenaw, with the gunman shot multiple times by police.
First question, who and why? Neighbors did come out and help the victim. It's just great to see the community step in and offer assistance.
You hear it on the news, crimes happening west, south. No, but it's actually coming to safe neighborhoods, which is a bit shocking.
Yeah, it shouldn't be shocking anymore. By the way, something not reported there that should be reported.
That he was shouting Allah Akbar.
Yeah, the shooter, yes. So feels like a hate crime. Well, if that's accurate that he was shouting Allah Akbar before he opened fire on a Jewish man, I believe wearing a yarmulke on his way or in Orthodox Jewish garb, indicating his religion. That seems material to the discussion. But of course, it's not. In this instance, it could be influenced by the person's ethnicity and faith, but that's not the story citywide. The story citywide is just the ongoing lawlessness. And interestingly, CWB Chicago made their first ever political recommendation in a contested race of sorts, a judicial retention vote. Vote not to retain this judge.
Okay.
If you're in Cook County, I would basically, the default position would be vote not to retain any judge, because how could you do worse? But the judge that CWB Chicago is specifically focused upon is a woman named Carol Howard. She is 71, former public defender, been a judge for 18 years. And as one veteran prosecutor said, she'll take forever to make a decision and then make the worst one. Mm-hmm. For example, several years ago, a woman accused of tossing her newborn baby to its death from the 8th floor of an apartment building was on Howard's docket. Prosecutors said the woman gave birth to the child, then tossed it out a window so her parents wouldn't discover her secret. Howard gave her probation.
What?
On a reduced charge of manslaughter. 2 men charged with participating in a shooting that left a man dead on the Wabash Avenue Bridge were assigned to Howard. Shooting was largely caught on city surveillance video, which showed one of the men holding an L-shaped object on the bridge. Man holding L-shaped object, man dead on Wabash Avenue Bridge from gunshot wounds. In a bench trial, Howard found no indication of solid proof the L-shaped object he pointed during a shooting was a gun, because police never recovered the firearms, and they didn't find any shell casings where the guy had been standing. So he ditched the gun and the shell casings, and that was good enough for the judge. She found him not guilty. There's more of these. Howard sentenced a 14-time convicted felon to 12 years in prison, 7 for narcotics cases, plus 5 for shooting a 3-year-old while on bail for the dope cases. So a 14-time felon got less time for shooting a 3-year-old child than he did for narcotics cases. And you wonder why this sometimes, NPR Times has the story, real head scratcher. 1 out of every 6 Chicago cops hired since 2016 is no longer on the payroll. About 950 of more than 5,750 people hired in that period have left. The average time with the department is not even 3 years, many moving to suburban police departments. So a little less than 20% of those hired since 2016 have left, not even stayed 3 years. They're gone. Gee, why would they be gone? No political civilian political backing, and no backing from the other side of the criminal justice system. So why am I here? For more on the topic, we're pleased to be joined again by Thomas Weitzel, retired chief of police of the suburb Riverside. Probably has some former Chicago cops on that force now. Tom Weitzel, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Amy. And Riverside does have officers that come from other departments through lateral transfers, as every suburban department does nowadays.
So I assume you interact with former Chicago cops that are cops elsewhere now, and so in case it's not obvious, is there something other than what I said that they say?
No, what they say is that they are getting no leadership too within the police department, so their own leadership isn't backing them. And then the political atmosphere is so bad that they feel that City Hall, we'll take Chicago, for example, City Hall is running the police department and setting procedures and policies, and they specifically will cite foot pursuits and vehicle pursuit policies, and that in general, the atmosphere in Cook County is just not pro-law enforcement, and it drives them from the department. Here's the thing, they go to a place like CPD, right? And CPD spends a lot of money. It's about maybe about $200,000 to hire an officer when you think of all the training, uniforms, insurance they give them and their families. Officers, they get the training, they get all the certifications you need in Illinois and other states, and then they leave.
Well, in this era of the Pritzker Purge Law and the so-called Safety Act, obviously some of the surrounding counties have been forced to start approximating Cook County when it comes to dealing with criminals. But what is your sense of the situation even in suburban Cook County and the collar counties as compared to Cook and Chicago specifically?
It's like different state. So not only like DuPage versus Cook. Let's just take suburban Cook County versus the city of Chicago. They are, most of the times they're run completely different. The only thing that's the same is our court system, right? So the Cook County criminal court system affects every single police agency in Cook County, and quite frankly, it's a joke. I mean, if you were to go to Cook County, DuPage, Will County, McHenry, they constantly cite what not to do that's happening in Cook County. And it used to be that, Chicago Police Department, when they put out a policy or procedure, I can tell you that most agencies throughout the state kind of looked at what they put out. They had their city attorneys, their corporation counsel, and say, hey, Chicago put out this foot pursuit policy. Let's look at it. Should we adopt it? Because Chicago's this big metropolitan area. They have corporation councils. They've reviewed this. That doesn't happen anymore. A lot of the policies and procedures coming from CPD, which is really coming out of City Hall, nobody's adopting anymore at all.
Well, and that judge, that Carol Howard judge that we were talking about that CWB Chicago identified, she's hardly the only problem there. She's just a good example of the problem. Frankly, starting with Tim Evans, the chief judge, for goodness sakes.
Oh, yeah. It's when they used to call it bond court, and we would run prisoners every day down to either the Maybrook Courthouse in Maywood in suburban Cook County, or on weekends you had to go down to 26 in California. You'd be mesmerized by how bond would even be set. Somebody would get a $10,000 I bond, which was a signature bond, for severely injuring a police officer and the officer being treated in an ER, and then they'd have somebody on their first offense DUI, and they'd set the bond at $50,000 cash. And that happened routinely. So the logic, even behind when there was bond, not just first appearance court now, is just mind-boggling. And when I would complain as chief, I complained to the chief judge and I complained to our area judge. They would give me the same response all the time. The courtroom, they would say, Chief Weitzel, the courtroom is independent, and that judge is allowed to make whatever decisions you want, whether you like it or not. That would be the response to me every time.
That's a powerful legal argument. Yeah.
They would just shut you down and just say, they would just brush you off and say they're allowed to do what they want in their own courtroom. They would tell me, stop bitching.
Yeah, well, clearly, and that seems to be the problem. It's not that this directive needs to be issued, even because it's just happening organically. Word gets around. But I mean, you're a suburban guy, or were. I mean, do you go to the city? Do you tell friends and family to, tonight's a nice night to go to the city and have dinner and catch a show?
I used to. I do not anymore. And I do that. In late 2022, 23, I wrote a column called Stop Spending Your Entertainment Dollars in the City in a suburban newspaper. And I got the most backlash I've ever received from writing a column. The people like, how dare you tell people not to go to the city and spend money, to go to concerts or go to a play downtown or spend the night at a nice hotel and go to dinner. And I'm telling them, well, crime's out of control. It's happening during the daytime. It's happening on Michigan Avenue. There's violent crime. There's shootings. There's robberies. They're not taking it seriously. The politicians aren't giving the police the resources. They're not hiring. And I got so much backlash. Some of it said that I was biased. Some called me I had a racial. I mean, it was the
always
worst
throwing
ever.
racism.
Yeah.
But I just think of Jess Kendall, 18 years old, senior at Elgin High School, goes to the Little Dirk concert, thinks, I'll park by look, there's a spot 2 blocks away from the United Center, and 4 guys come up, 2 on bikes, 2 on foot.
Was one of them Little Dirk?
No, well, that's for later. Little Dirk's concerts won't be happening anytime soon. But I mean, it just breaks your heart as a Chicagoan, as a parent, that God, because our kids go to concerts and you think, oh God, please, Lord, bring him home safely, and then you have this 18-year-old that was loved by so many people in Elgin get brutally murdered. I mean, they took what he gave them what they wanted, and they still shot him.
And it being in government, I could tell you one thing that they will listen to. The government will listen to is tax dollars and revenue. So if you stop spending your money, you stop going there, they're going to listen, because they need suburbanites to come there, go to concerts, go to sporting events, go out to dinner. They need that revenue. From sitting in on meetings all my career, if the revenue starts to drop, then the politicians will listen.
Well, then BLM Brandon just goes to a payday loan store and borrows $300 million that'll pay $700 million to finance. That's all, like he does with CPS.
Well, and speaking of Mayor Johnson, I mean, Little Dirk gave him $150,000, and it doesn't sound like he's going to give the money back.
Well,
Dirk has been arrested in a murder for hire plot.
Yeah, when rap stars collide, but that to be fair, that money from Lil Durk was specifically earmarked for haircuts.
Okay. Here he is.
And so,
when asked if he would donate the money,
if you're asking me if I should make a judgment on a black man before a full trial has actually come to fruition, I hope you do understand why it is not my position to determine the outcome of someone's life.
I mean, what a joke. And no reporter there asked him, well, what did you do with $150,000?
Well, it's campaign money. I said haircuts.
Great.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Little Dirk thing, you don't want to give the money back? Whatever. It's a politician to take money from people that end up getting convicted of crimes or should be convicted of crimes all the time. So, but I mean, the thing about that answer that's so telling about BLM Brandon is everything is forced through the racial prism. Mm-hmm. He's a black man on trial. Well, there's some community organizations that are black-led that had affiliation with Little Dirk that have now disassociated themselves from Little Dirk. They didn't wait for a conviction in order to do so, because that's not necessarily the standard when it comes to associations, that somebody has to be convicted. It is the standard before the criminal law, as well it should be, but it's not the standard in terms of personal relationships, associations, friendships, sponsors, and that sort of thing. But it's just that statement of the way he did it is so telling. Everything is, if you challenge me, then you're a racist. You don't, it's the whole, what's wrong? You got a problem with the black man going to London to see the Bears play. It's just the same thing. It's got to be so tiresome. And I wish more people from law enforcement, starting with Snelling, would say, you know what? Why don't you dial that? I'm a black man. Why don't you dial that down?
Yeah,
but that's me.
I agree with you totally, Dan. It'd be good if we had police executives and police leaders that stood up to and also challenged that rhetoric, because it certainly makes it hard for the beat officer to do their job.
Thomas Weitzel, retired chief of police, the village of Riverside. Tom, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great morning.
You too, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Hi, I'm Mark Rice, former Texan energy entrepreneur, family man, and football coach. I'm running for U.S. Congress in the 8th Congressional District. It's time for something different. We've all had enough of losing to the Democrats and the corrupt career politicians that are ruining our state and cities. I'll take action and bring some common sense to Congress. I'm not afraid to meet head-on the challenges we face daily, like the border situation, crime in our neighborhoods, inflation of everyday items like food, gas, and medical needs. We need to protect our freedoms, and I'm the person to get the job done. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Support my campaign in the 8th District, and let's take back our country, one House seat at a time. Vote for me, Mark Rice, for Congress. Go to rice4congress.com to get involved. I'm Mark Rice, and I approve this message. Paid for by Mark Rice for Congress Committee.
Balance of Nature supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
Everything about your product is 100%. I look forward to it. I'll put it that way. I'm 71 years old. Balance of Nature is the absolute best product. I love your product, and you guys, when I call you on the phone, you're the best. So I'm very grateful.
My husband's a retired cop, and I worked in a hospital for years. I'm going out right now because I'm getting ready to paint my fence. It's just literally amazing. And, you know, you watch the TV articles and you go, yeah. Well, at least it's 100% returnable if it doesn't work. I'm not kidding you. It is the most amazing product I've ever taken.
Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com and get this special offer by using discount code Chicago.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Jim Keene Jr. of the Mail House, Inc., a family-owned and operated digital print mail house with a specialty in political advertising and a customer of Signature Bank. We knew that getting a loan to buy our business wouldn't be easy, so we turned to one of our trusted friends for a referral. She told us about the outstanding level of customer service her business received at Signature Bank since becoming one of their first customers in 2006. Today, we couldn't be happier. Not only did Signature help us finance the purchase of the mail house, but they supported our growth as we modernized our operations in mailing as well as from traditional to digital printing. If you're looking for a great bank to grow your business, take a look at Signature Bank.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
It's Dr. David Kolbaba.
Hey, let me tell you about our age analysis assessment. It takes just a few seconds to scan for those advanced glycated end products that cause premature aging. And then we'll briefly go over your results and give you a few things for you to do to improve. And then we'll retest you in about 60 days. And you'll pay our special low price for your first assessment, and I'll pay for your second one. That's right, your follow-up age analysis assessment is on me. And we're going to compare your biologic age with your chronologic age, and then we're going to help you determine if your biologic age is on par with your chronologic age. But you got to make that call today, not tomorrow, but today. It's our Health Quest radio hotline, 800-794-1855. That's 800-794-1855. Second assessment free if you make that call right now. 800-794-1855. It's Health Quest radio with me, Dr. David Kolbaba, Saturday mornings at 11.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We'll revisit last night's Trump rally at Madison Square Garden and talk about other matters on the trail with Joel Pollack from Breitbart at 8:08.
But now into the newsroom we go. Here's Mike Scott.
A pedestrian killed in a Skokie hit and run. Rogers Park residents warned of a potentially dangerous spreading of rat poison. WIND Chicago News Time, 8 o'clock.
MAGA in Manhattan. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. Former President Trump held a campaign rally in his hometown, New York City, packing the venue nicknamed the world's most famous arena.
Welcome to the stage by Elon Musk, former First Lady Melania Trump, and a live performance by country star Lee Greenwood. Former President Trump took the stage before a full house at Madison Square Garden on Sunday night. He was greeted with thunderous applause and cheering, then reminded his supporters to get out and vote on Election Day, promising that a second Trump term would be, quote, America's new golden age.
We're not going to take it anymore. Kamala, you're fired. Get out. Get out. You're fired.
Former President Trump is kicking off the final full week before Election Day with a rally this evening in Georgia. At Madison Square Garden, Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
Vice President Harris campaigns in Michigan today, in Philadelphia for some events yesterday.
Hard work is good work. Hard work is joyful work. And make no mistake, we will win. We will win.
At least 42 million early votes have been cast nationwide so far. It's confirmed that North Korean troops have started arriving at the front line of Russia's fight against Ukraine, seen in Russia's Kursk region on the border where Ukrainian troops have been carrying out raids. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte.
The deepening military cooperation between Russia and North Korea is a threat to both the Indo-Pacific and Euro-Atlantic security.
U.S. intelligence says around 3,000 North Korean troops have been sent. The United Nations says national pledges to cut greenhouse gas emissions would barely cut pollution by 2030, less than 3%, far short of the 43% goal to get the world on track for net zero carbon emissions by 2050. America's listening to Fox News.
"44 degrees at 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. 3 were killed, a juvenile seriously injured in a multi-vehicle crash Sunday near Woodstock. A juvenile rescued from a silver SUV with serious injuries and airlifted to a regional hospital, while the driver of that SUV and 2 others in another sedan were pronounced dead at the scene. Illinois State Representative Bob Rita expected to return to the witness stand today at the bribery and racketeering trial of former Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan. State Representative Kelly Cassidy referred to Rita as one of the Madigan allies who retaliated against her when she stood up to Madigan.
Each of these things were, in the immediate aftermath of me speaking up, pointing out problems within his administration.
A man fatally struck in Skokie in a hit and run yesterday near Crawford and Kirk. Police say the man was crossing the street when a dark-colored vehicle hit him and then fled the scene. Officials are alerting residents of Rogers Park about improperly placed rat poison. It's happened near Ashland and Fargo, as well as Farwell and Sheridan. City and nearby businesses deny responsibility for the packets. Bears lost to Washington 18-15. Bulls take on Memphis tonight. The Blackhawks visit the Avalanche. The news, a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. What if you could save an average of 90% for dental implants and get 100% of your smile back? With a Blue Cross Blue Shield, PPO, or FEP, it's possible. Check if you qualify. AlmostFreeTeeth.com. 8:04, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Barclays is predicting the markets will rally after the U.S. elections no matter who wins. The analysts say even if there are protests by disgruntled parties upset at the results, financial markets and investors will move on. Barclays says in December of 2020, despite claims of the elections being stolen, stocks rose across the month. Volkswagen is dealing with weaker demand in Europe and China. Reuters says VW plans to shut at least 3 factories in Germany, lay off thousands of staff, and permanently shrink other plants, in addition to pay cuts. Crude oil prices are falling after Israel's airstrikes against Iran. The market shrugged it off, suggesting traders don't see a serious risk that Iran's oil production will be impacted. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
The lineup for Freedom Summit Chicago 2024 just got bigger with the addition of Dinesh D'Souza. He joins Dr. Sebastian Gorka and economist Steve Moore, along with Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, Jeannie Ives, and many more. This event will sell out, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by attorney Stephen A. Leahy at Opum Tax Advocates and by Valdecas Incorporated, Windows and Doors.
Balance of nature. Fruits and veggie supplements are packed with 31 frightfully good whole fruit and vegetable ingredients. Our blends help maintain your overall well-being. From the deep red cranberry to the rustic green cabbage, our special formula is no trick. Dare to discover the magical blends within. Open and sprinkle our fruits supplement powder into your cauldron brew, aka morning smoothie, or add our veggie supplement powder to your spooktacular concoction. Soup, we mean soup. This Halloween, treat yourself to a potion of wellness that's wickedly good with balance of nature.
Go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. And get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
The socialists who want to move into the White House have a lot of plans for your money. One of them is to control the price of food, and this is just the start. Could 401ks and IRAs be next on their agenda? It might sound far-fetched, but so did price fixing just months ago. Hi, Donald Trump Jr. here. If you've spent decades building your nest egg, you can act now to stop your savings from falling into the hands of the socialists. It's why Americans are turning to gold, the ultimate safe haven in uncertain times. To see how easy it is to diversify your retirement with gold, get a free info kit from my friends at Birch Gold by texting the word PROTECT to 989898. Birch Gold makes it easy to roll over your 401k or IRA into gold while preserving your tax advantage status. Don't wait any longer. Protect your financial future now. Text PROTECT to the number 989898 for your free info kit from Birch Gold, the only gold company I trust.
Paid for by Birch Gold Group.
IC Catholic Prep in Elmhurst is an AP honor roll school dedicated to challenging and inspiring young men and women, offering opportunities to grow in your faith and participate in exciting extracurricular activities. IC Catholic Prep is a great choice because of their tight-knit community, dedicated teachers, and rigorous college preparatory curriculum. IC Catholic Prep is centered in Jesus Christ and rooted in Catholic tradition. Students learn, lead, and serve throughout their lives. Now is your chance to experience IC Catholic Prep at their open house on October 30th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. The campus is located just south of downtown Elmhurst at 217 South Cottage Hill. This open house is a fantastic opportunity to see firsthand how they foster a strong sense of community and academic excellence. Bring your middle school kids and see in person why IC Catholic Prep is the right choice for your family. For more details or to register for the open house, visit iccatholicprep.org. We look forward to welcoming you on October 30th.
It's 8:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time is a service of Trim Light Chicago. Don't let hanging holiday lights get you in a Scrooge mood. 'Tis the season to save time, money, and energy with permanent programmable holiday lighting for your home. Get your free quote today at trimlight-chicago.com. Outbound Edens, your jammed up Montrose out to Gulf Road. Outbound Kennedy, your outbound off-ramp to Ohio shut down for a week. You can detour by exiting at Augusta. Inbound on the Ike, 1 hour, 390 to the old post office. Stevenson outbound, an overturned vehicle, 2 left lanes blocked. The crash outbound at Damon. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Today's forecast becoming windy and mild, clouds and sun, highs 68. Currently 44. Next news at 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Well, you start to look at these early voting numbers, and you can understand why Kamala Harris was in Philadelphia trying to do her Pentecostal revival routine. Philadelphia Dems are keeping pace with 2020 levels in Philly suburbs as it pertains to early voting, but basically nowhere else. Black Philly returns are down 41% from 2020.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
That's good news.
In Arizona, Sunday returns update, 1.3 million so far, 542,000 Republican, 455,000 Democrat, 297,000 other, independents and other. Turnout's at about 30% right now. So with Republicans about an 87,000 ballot lead. I mean, again, you have to think about the distribution of the vote, so you can't read too much into these things. But when you start comparing numbers from 4 years ago, they're pretty encouraging. North Carolina is close. 2.74 million votes cast in North Carolina, just over the 50% mark in total anticipated votes. Republicans lead Democrats in terms of turnout by about 30,000. The Nevada and Clark County reporting. This is the one that's really interesting because it's so different than previous cycles of recent past. Republicans still have about a 31,000 vote lead in early voting in Nevada, with 44% of the expected vote cast. In Georgia, the expected vote, 53% of the expected vote has early voted. Again, you see Republicans with an advantage there. Jim Crow 2.0, but yet 53% have early voted. Very interesting. So you can see why there is the need to try to, I don't know, do some 11th hour demonizing and frightening of people that they think can push people to their side, push people off Trump. I'm not sure. And that was, of course, the run-up to Trump's rally in Madison Square Garden last night, where it started with Hillary on with Klingon Collins over at CNN.
And, one other thing that you'll see next week, Caitlin, is Trump actually reenacting the Madison Square Garden rally in 1939. I write about this in my book. President Franklin Roosevelt was appalled that neo-Nazis, fascists in America were lining up to essentially pledge their support for the kind of government that they were seeing in Germany. So I don't think we can ignore it.
Right. So it's not just Trump as Hitler, but everyone in attendance last night or otherwise rallying outside or otherwise watching the rally in support are neo-Nazis.
So
and
we
of course,
went from deplorables to neo-Nazis.
Yeah, it's a bit of a step up in weight class, sure. Of course, Field Marshal Walls picked up on that because he doesn't really have a brain, so he just repeats what he's told.
Donald Trump has descended into madness over the last few weeks. And I think some of you don't miss on this. Go do your Google on this. Donald Trump's got this big rally going at Madison Square Garden. There's a direct parallel to a big rally that happened in the mid-1930s at Madison Square Garden.
Not the mid-1930s.
And don't think that he doesn't know for 1 second exactly what they're doing there.
Go do your Google, things intelligent people say.
And the Instagram.
And then, of course, MSNBC offered the dispassionate review of the circumstance.
But that jamboree happening right now, you see it there on your screen, in that place is particularly chilling because in 1939, more than 20,000 supporters of a different fascist leader, Adolf Hitler, packed the garden for a so-called pro-America rally. A rally where speakers voiced anti-Semitic...
All the subtlety of a steamroller. One gentleman who has had enough of the hyper-Hitler rhetoric is Jerry Wartsky, who's a 94-year-old Holocaust survivor. He survived Auschwitz. His parents did not. He had this to say.
I'm 94 years old and survivor of Auschwitz and the death marches. Adolf Hitler invaded Poland when I was 9 years old. He murdered my parents and most of our family. I know more about Hitler than Kamala will ever know in 1,000 lifetimes. For her to accuse President Trump of being like Hitler is the worst thing I've ever heard in my 75 years living in the United States. I know President Trump, and he would never say this, and Kamala Harris knows this. She owes my parents and everybody else who was murdered by Hitler an apology for repeating this lie.
Well, I'm sure she'll offer an apology the same way she did to Alexis Nungary, which is, I'm very sorry for your loss. Joel Pollack, Breitbart News senior editor-at-large, author of The Agenda, What Trump Should Do in His First 100 Days, joins us now. Joel, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Good to be with you.
Were you able to compare and contrast the Trump rally last night from the 1939 neo-Nazi rally?
Well, look, I think you're looking at this all wrong. I think that as a Chicago Bulls fan, we should all celebrate the ultimate acknowledgement that if you support the New York Knicks, you are in fact a Nazi. And I think that this is, because there are evidently tens of thousands of Nazis who gather 40 times a year at Madison Square Garden to cheer on the New York Knicks, and I, for one, wish to see them drummed out of polite society. So I actually view this as a positive development.
Spike Lee, I mean, I got to be with you. If it included Spike Lee, who's always sitting courtside, that's pretty persuasive, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, and also Billy Joel. He had a residency at Madison Square Garden for many years. And even though he's Jewish, he is now also a Nazi. And I like
Crystal. I always see Billy Crystal there. Yeah.
Yeah, and don't forget Taylor Swift, who kicked off her world tour last year at Madison Square Garden. She is also a Nazi. She's got the blonde hair and blue eyes and everything. So I think, given the legions of fans who are now trying to control our elections, I think that she ought to be declared a fascist. And if you go to a Taylor Swift concert, then you are also a Nazi, and I don't want to have anything to do with you. So this is actually an achievement for American democracy to have Madison Square Garden, a venue in the center of Manhattan and New York City, one of the most Jewish cities in the world outside of Israel, declared a Nazi venue. I think it's actually a step forward. I mean, obviously I'm being facetious, but I think they've lost. I think this is the clearest sign that Kamala Harris is losing the election, because you don't do this. You don't make these kinds of crazy accusations if you're winning. They also wouldn't try this if the media weren't 100% on their side. I noticed you mentioned Caitlin Collins of CNN. Hillary Clinton made the claim about Madison Square Garden a few days ago on Caitlin Collins' show on CNN, and Collins didn't even push back. She didn't even ask Hillary Clinton what her evidence was. She could also have pointed out, by the way, that Madison Square Garden hosted anti-Nazi rallies. After Hitler was elected in 1933, the Jewish community in the United States held a large rally at Madison Square Garden to protest Hitler's election. And then when the horrors of the Holocaust began to trickle out from Nazi Germany, they held another anti-Nazi rally in 1943. But you don't hear that from CNN correcting the record or challenging Hillary Clinton. And this all started with James Carville, the raging Cajun, who's now completely off his rocker. And they all picked it up. Tim Walz picked it up. You saw people on social media picking it up. And then it was reflected in all the media coverage. They took a couple of jokes by one of the comedians who was a warm-up act, and they turned that into racist comments at Trump rally in Madison Square Garden. And this colored their coverage because they don't want Americans who aren't already supporting Donald Trump to take a look at the Republican ticket, and they want to tarnish everyone who might. But this is a sign that they're losing. Trump is winning, and he's behaving like a winner. He's doing winner things. He's talking to people who don't normally vote for him. He's going into barbershops in the Bronx, and he's serving fries at McDonald's. And Kamala Harris is talking to the true believers, the Russia collusion hoaxers, and the people who believe every other hoax that they've spun over the years. And this is the latest one. It's the Madison Square Garden as a Nazi symbol hoax. I mean, maybe they should move Penn Station, the central train station in New York City, because it's underneath Madison Square Garden, which is just even more suspicious. It's sort of subterranean Nazism. I mean, this is crazy talk. And even if they manage somehow to eke out a win with mail-in ballots and all of that, which is sort of the Republican nightmare, another one of those election nights where Trump is winning in a bunch of states and then is losing the next day as the mail-in ballots are counted. Even if they pull off something like that again, she has no mandate to govern after calling half the country essentially Nazis and pulling this kind of tactic. I mean, this is destructive, this is divisive, and it repeats Hillary Clinton's mistake of 2016. Hillary Clinton also told people that Trump was Hitler. And when he actually won, a lot of Democrats believed it, and they went nuts. They put funny pink hats on their heads, they danced around like the end of the world was coming, and they spent years looking for Russia collusion that didn't exist. They basically upended the country, and they made themselves mentally ill because they had convinced themselves that this was the Third Reich. And this is really destructive. I mean, they're doing it again. I do think that people are smarter this time, that Americans aren't buying it, and that it's going to backfire on the Harris campaign. But if nothing else, it does suggest that they are desperate and they believe they are losing.
Well, and did you see what happened yesterday? I mean, Kamala Harris is playing catch-up. Yesterday, she tried to meet with, the brothers in a barber shop, and it did not go well. So it looks like she's nervous, her campaign's nervous. And do you think that they're regretting staging this coup in the first place to replace Harris with Biden, or Biden with Harris?
No, I don't think so, because I think that this was the best they could have done under the circumstances. If you look at polls about the direction of the country, Americans overwhelmingly believe the country's on the wrong track. Americans are dissatisfied with the performance of the administration. They're concerned about the state of the world. They're concerned about inflation and the economy. We have some economic indicators that are actually pretty positive, like low unemployment, but the high inflation and high interest rates are making people feel like the future is out of reach. And when people don't feel like they have a future, they become very gloomy about the present. So that's not going to change no matter who the candidate is. That was set in stone the moment that Joe Biden took office and Kamala Harris helped him pass some of his inflationary bills. And they did this to themselves, really. So Democrats are now facing the results of their policies, and it's not going to really matter who the candidate is. Kamala Harris maybe was the best they could do in this year, someone who offers a bunch of historic firsts, someone who's different, as she likes to say, the new generation of leadership in the Democratic Party. But the fact is that their policies are failing, and nothing they could really do in terms of the backroom maneuverings to elect a different candidate would have made much of a difference.
Well, I like that she's going out this way, Kamala's going out this way, because she'll then relegate herself to a footnote in history. She'll be totally discredited and discarded by all these people that are touting her as this wonderful, once in a generation type leader with this engaging personality and background of accomplishment and so forth. She'll be yesterday's news so fast she won't even know what hit her, and that's exactly what she'll deserve.
And she could win. She could win, and
I don't think so.
But let's say she does. Okay, what do you do after you've called half the country Nazis? Can you achieve anything on your agenda? Who's going to help you in the Senate? Are you going to be able to convince Republicans to go along with getting rid of the filibuster if they come back with a Senate majority, which looks like it's possible because John Tester's losing in Montana and Democrats are losing in other places? Who's going to help you? Adam Schiff, the new senator from California. Republicans hate that guy. They're not going to work with him. So how are you going to do all this stuff that you're promising to do? You're going to codify Roe v. Wade without the Senate? I mean, you're going to be a lame duck from day one because people are not going to trust her leadership. So, yes, it's possible she could win, but she doesn't have a mandate. She can't govern, and she's destroying her ability to reach out to the other side, which is what you need to be able to do, whereas Trump is building bridges. And, again, Kamala Harris doesn't need to be in a barbershop. She needs to be out where the voters who are swing voters in this election are. She has never made any attempt to appeal to independents. You know, she chose Tim Walz, who you mentioned, and he's from Minnesota, which is a great state, but it only has 10 electoral college votes, and it's reliably blue. She passed over Josh Shapiro, who comes from Pennsylvania, which is a swing state, 19 electoral college votes, much more important than presidential elections. And she did it because the anti-Israel caucus inside the Democratic Party wouldn't tolerate Josh Shapiro, who has said some very pro-Israel things in the past and who happens to be Jewish. So she has not made any moves toward independence, and that's why you're seeing that.
Joel Pollack, Breitbart News senior editor-at-large, author of The Agenda, What Trump Should Do in His First 100 Days. Joel, thanks as always.
Thank you.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
Buying an engagement ring is a memorable moment. That's why it's so important to find a jeweler you can trust. Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. Rollins is the jeweler I trust. That's why I'm a customer, a longtime customer. Rollins continually receives outstanding reviews. I love how they're family-owned and how friendly and knowledgeable their staff is. Rollins has the best selection of both natural and lab diamonds at outstanding value. Choose from designers like Simon G., Sylvie, and Gabriel that all have exceptional quality. Or a one-of-a-kind custom design from classic elegance to modern sparkle. Rollins has the perfect ring to capture that yes moment and make it unforgettable. Visit Rollins Jewelers in downtown Libertyville or go to RollinsJewelers.com. That's Rollins, ROLLANDS, RollinsJewelers.com. Rollins Jewelers, a family-owned jeweler you can trust like I do.
So how are you feeling this morning? Did you wake up with joint pain? Does it hurt doing the most routine activities? Have they told you it's time for knee or hip replacement surgery? Well, stop what you're doing and listen. You deserve a life of comfort and ease with no surgery and no meds. And if you're a good candidate for these new treatments, QC Kinetics can get you there. We're talking about cellular treatments for joint pain. It's led by Dr. Mitchell Scheinkup. He's a pioneer in this technology, and he's giving people like you an option other than surgery. An all-natural approach that harnesses your own body's healing properties to treat the root cause of your arthritic pain or joint pain. Everybody's talking about this, folks. QC Kinetics joint pain treatments are life-changing for so many people, tens of thousands of satisfied patients with more every day. Yes, you can have real, lasting relief from chronic joint pain without drugs, without surgery, without downtime. Learn about all of your options at QC Kinetics. The consultation is free with Saturday appointments available. The number to call is 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955. That's QC Kinetics. Call them at 312-809-5955.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Family, country, community. Ed Soliday has spent his life in service to others. A graduate of Valparaiso High School, Ed Soliday went on to attend Indiana University and served our country in the Army, where he earned the Distinguished Flying Cross, 2 Bronze Stars, and a Purple Heart. After his military service, Ed Soliday built a successful career as a pilot and flight safety expert, leading crisis management at United Airlines on 9/11. Now, Ed Soliday is serving us at the Indiana State House, where he puts people ahead of partisanship. Representative Ed Soliday is a respected voice working to protect taxpayers, secure our energy grid, and attract better-paying jobs to the region. Ed is endorsed by the Indiana Fraternal Order of Police, the Indiana State Police Alliance, and the Indiana Professional Firefighters PAC. Representative Ed Soliday. Common sense leadership for Northwest Indiana. Vote Ed Soliday for state representative on or before Tuesday, November 5th.
Paid for by Friends of Ed Soliday Committee.
All right, trick or treat. Smell my feet. Give me something good to eat. Hi, Amy Jacobson here. And as you probably know, Thursday is Halloween. Trick or treaters. That's a lot of candy. So why don't you balance it out with some balance of nature? There's 31 different whole fruits and vegetables in Balance of Nature in just 6 capsules. Take 6 capsules a day to give your body, heart, and mind the nutrition it needs. I've been taking it for 10 years, and I love it. Gives me energy, and it's good to know you're doing something positive for yourself. Order your fruits and vegetable supplements today. Call 800-246-8751. Use coupon code Chicago to save 35% off your first set. and free shipping when you sign up as a new preferred customer. 800-246-8751. Call now or order online at balanceofnature.com and use coupon code Chicago.
At Signature Bank, going the distance for business banking customers is what we do every day. We understand that business owners have a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, a plan for growth, and don't have time to wait for a bank to respond. With Signature Bank, you not only have a banking partner that has roots right here in Chicago, but our decisions are made locally too. Signature Bank knows that when you have a question or problem about your business, you want answers. You need someone who will pick up the phone or respond to your text. You need someone who is always there for you. That's Signature Bank. We are a team that wants to get to know you and your business. Want to be Signature Bank's next success story? Give us a call today at 773-467-5630 or visit us online at signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, I like the contrast between the MSG rally for Trump yesterday and that Kamala rally in Houston that was sort of a catastrophe.
Sort of? Is there a doctor in the house? Hello, medic.
Well, that was great. That was you got 6 abortionists on stage, and somebody in the audience has a medical emergency. This is how that went.
Necessarily becoming ill and dying.
It's having a seizure.
Nationwide.
You hear him calling out medic, right?
Yeah.
I think someone needs some medical assistance.
Yeah, you got
over here.
6 with you on the stage. Get up.
No, is there a doctor in the house? No, there's just those handful of abortionists in white coats on stage.
And then
exactly.
People got pissed and left because some people waited, Dan, for 12 hours because they thought Beyonce was going to be singing. She didn't sing. And so people were getting up and heckling her and walked out. I mean, she's touting this like 30,000 people came, under false pretenses. So that's the kind of leader that she is, which is she lacks leadership skills. Right.
At 8:38, another rally that I don't think really is going to serve Kamala's interest very well, featuring Michelle Obama, who gives, a typical scolding. She has a lot of disappointments, or a lot of people are disappointing her, and she was happy to let them know. That's at 8:38.
Good. I can't wait to break that down because very strange. But now let's hop into that newsroom once again. Say hello to Mike Scott. Hi, Mike.
8:32 on AM 560, The Answer, and former President Trump is continuing his push for the White House following a rally at Madison Square Garden in New York City.
With your vote in this election, I will end inflation. I will stop the invasion of criminals coming into our country, and I will bring back the American dream.
Vice President Kamala Harris opened a day of campaigning at a black church in West Philadelphia.
Vice President Harris spoke at the Church of Christian Compassion in West Philadelphia, at one point through hecklers who made their way into the congregation. She responded to that, saying all voices must be heard, but also used it to make a larger point about the election.
This moment in our nation has to be about so much more than partisan politics. It must be about the good work we can do together.
Vice President Harris did not mention former President Donald Trump by name during her comments. She did emphasize that just 9 days remain before the final ballots will be cast on Election Day. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
This morning, residents in Asheville, North Carolina are trying to regain a sense of normalcy following the devastation of Hurricane Helene. Schools are reopening today. Officials say schools will be on a adjusted and abbreviated schedule. No after-school activities today or tomorrow. This morning, we're watching reaction as onions from a food producer in California are now seen to be the source of an E. coli outbreak linked to Chicago-based McDonald's. Fast food company says Taylor Farms sent the onions to one distribution facility. The CDC says one person in Colorado died. 75 cases across 13 states have now been reported. 3 were killed and a juvenile was seriously hurt in a multi-vehicle crash Sunday near Woodstock. Illinois State Representative Bob Rita expected to return to the witness stand this morning at the bribery and racketeering trial of former Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan. Bears surrender a Hail Mary on the final play of regulation in an 18-15 loss to Washington. The Bulls are at Memphis tonight. The Blackhawks visiting the Avalanche. The news is a service of LifeLock. As Cybersecurity Awareness Month wraps up, remember to update your software to fix security issues that identity thieves will exploit to steal personal information. And for comprehensive identity theft protection, choose LifeLock. Start your 30-day free trial today. LifeLock.com/cybersecurity. A check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
Dennis Prager doesn't understand the never Trump mind.
I know Harris will ruin my country, but I can't vote for Donald Trump. That is why it is called Trump derangement syndrome. When one abandons rational moral thought on one issue, it is a syndrome.
The Dennis Prager Show. Weekdays at 11, right before Charlie Kirk at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
When your home or business has an insurance claim, the next step is very important. The claim process with insurance can be tedious, hard to understand, and difficult to navigate. You need someone working for you. You need a licensed claim adjuster. Why? The insurance company will send out their inspectors that work for them, get paid by them, and represent them, not you.
This is Dan Lights from Crosscom. We inspect your property, file your claim, negotiate the damages, and maximize your settlement with your insurance company. If we complete the repairs approved by your insurance company, our service is free. Crosscom Public Adjusters has turned denied claims into approved claims. We've also increased insurance claims anywhere from 23 to 1,000%. We are licensed by the Department of Insurance and work in Illinois, Northwest Indiana, and Southern Wisconsin. Crosscom Public Adjusters, 630-871-5500. Online at crosscominc.com. That's crosscominc.com. Crosscom, building trust for over 20 years.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Have you heard about this guy, Donald Rainwater?
I sure have. Guy was a deadbeat dad. Total loser. Not only did Rainwater repeatedly fail to pay his child support, he filed for bankruptcy and had his car repossessed. But what did a court find he spent the money on? Cigarettes.
Hasn't he run for office twice before and lost each time?
Sure has. Maybe that's why he wants the job, so taxpayers pay off all his debts.
But there's someone even worse than Rainwater. This Jennifer McCormick character is a really out there liberal.
Yeah, she's a pro-Biden and pro-Kamala liberal. She opposed school choice, she supports boys in the girls' locker room, and did you hear what she said about Hillary Clinton?
Did you vote for Hillary Clinton?
She had some great, world foreign experience. So I did vote for Hillary Clinton.
Jennifer McCormick, she's hopelessly liberal.
I'm not voting for Rainwater or McCormick. They're both losers in my book.
Paid for by Indiana Republican State Committee, Inc.
This hourly segment is sponsored by Protecting Your Assets with Steve Shyman. Listen Saturday mornings at 8. Learn more at willsave.com.
8:38. Let's get an update on the roads. We do that always in the morning, at least for now, in Team Hochberg's Traffic Center. And this update is a service of the Chicago Board of Elections. Early voting in downtown Chicago now open through Election Day, November 5th. Go to the Chicago Voting Supersite, 191 North Clark, or the board offices at 69 West Washington, or go to chicagoelections.gov for more information. Outbound Eden's, you're jammed up 2E to Golf. Outbound Kennedy, you're jammed up between Canfield and Cumberland heading out to the big airport. 65 on the inbound Ike into the old post office. Outbound Stevenson, an overturned vehicle. 2 left lanes are blocked. Emergency equipment there. Outbound at Damon. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Windy and mild with clouds and sun. High 68. Cloudy with a warm breeze overnight. Low 62. 44 right now. Next news at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Some new MAGA songs out. They're kind of fun. And some that are not as fun, but they're still, they're earworms. They're sort of entertaining to watch people updating their version of the Macarena for the Magarena.
Campbell is never gonna beat me in November. Donna's gonna make the country better than you can remember. Campbell is never gonna beat me in November. Hey, Macarena. Campbell is never...
Not bad.
Is that what you listened to on your flotilla from
No, this was the
Marco
popular
Island to Naples on Saturday?
This was the popular flotilla song that was blaring. More of a beach boating party kind of feel, but it's a good earworm too.
I will vote for Donald Trump. Oh my God, I will vote. I will vote for Donald Trump.
Raise a margarita.
Oh my God, I will vote. I will vote. I will vote for Donald Trump. The people go out to vote, no fear, no more. Vote for Trump. Let's go. Vote for Trump. If you wanna keep America great, vote for Trump. Let's do it. I vote for Trump. Oh my God, I will vote. I will vote. Oh yeah, for Donald Trump.
Kind of catchy, isn't it?
Oh my God, I
want to go on vacation.
Yeah. I was in the merengue on deck while this was playing.
Oh yeah. What kind of boat were you on?
That's fun. That's fun. That's good, isn't it?
Yeah. What kind of boat were you on? Or you don't want to talk about any
What,
details? Well, I want to live vicariously
Bizarre.
through you.
A 32-foot Chris Craft. It was nice. It was nice. Very nice boat.
Well, Dan and his fancy friends.
No, I wouldn't call. I mean, I don't think he'll mind. My friend Don Pescara, who I know from Olympia Fields, I wouldn't call him fancy.
Okay.
He's a good guy, successful guy, but he's not fancy. Regular guy. All right. Just like me, regular guy. Anyway, it was a much darker.
Oh yes, the party of joy is joyous.
In Kalamazoo with Michelle Obama, she was positively seething. She had a message to men about women. She had a message to women about men, and then she had a message to women about women.
Okay.
And they were all of the scolding variety, as you can imagine. She's sort of an angry chick, if you haven't heard. Here's her message to men about the women in their lives. Listen up. She's talking.
That there are a lot of angry, disillusioned people out there, upset with the slow pace of change. And I get it. It is reasonable to be frustrated. We all know we have a lot more work to do in this country. But to anyone out there thinking about sitting out this election or voting for Donald Trump or a third-party candidate in protest because you're fed up, let me warn you, your rage does not exist in a vacuum. If we don't get this election right, your wife, your daughter, your mother, we as women will become collateral damage to your rage.
What is going?
Warning, Michelle Obama. Warning, Michelle Obama.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You could text us on that same line. When I listened to her, and we're going to get to more of her speech, but I don't understand what she's coming up. She chose one event to do with Kamala because they've asked her to do many. She's like, no, I'll do one campaign event. It has to be on a Saturday. So they choose a minor league hockey ring in Kalamazoo that holds 5,000 people, and she comes out there and scolds people? Not effective.
Well, that was the message to men.
got
Your rage is going to do collateral damage to the women in your life, and the message to women about men is, don't let those barbarians that you associate with lead you down a primrose path.
Are you as men prepared to look into the eyes of the women and children you love and tell them that you supported this assault on our safety? And to the women listening, we have every right to demand that the men in our lives do better by us. We have to use our voices to make these choices clear to the men that we love. Our lives are worth more than their anger and disappointment.
Wow.
Oh, my God.
I'll tell you what.
Coming in hot.
I'll tell you what. You want to drive more men into voting for Trump, maybe quietly, but voting for Trump. Tell their wives and girlfriends and mothers and so forth to go shriek at them about how their collateral damage and that your rage ends at my rights and so on and so forth. Take Kamala's advice. Take Michelle Obama's advice and women out there who think she's talking sense. Go do that with the men in your lives and see what kind of reaction you get.
We will become collateral damage to your rage.
Yeah, well, it's
I'm a
all
victim now.
This is the same sort of thing as the Hitler thing. This is desperation. So you're going to have the scare them with Hitler, inform them of what is the morally righteous decision to make and try to shame them. So scare them, shame them. That's what she does. And then to women, she's got a message too. This is Michelle Obama, her message to women about women, the sisterhood.
You are a woman who lives in a household of men that don't listen to you or value your opinion.
Oh my God.
Just remember that your vote is a private matter.
Now it's a private matter.
Regardless of the political views of your partner, you get to choose. You get to use your judgment and cast your vote for yourself and the women in your life. Remember, women, standing up for what is best for us can make the difference in this election.
Hey, women who are married to cretins who don't value their opinion, these troglodytes, you can work around him.
We use this.
She just has such an attitude that there's this class of men that are misogynists. Somehow they got married and they oppress their wives or their girlfriends and force them into doing things they don't want to do at the ballot box and I guess everywhere else in life and don't want to hear their views and so on and so forth. It is such like a bad, it is like a Married with Children caricature of America. She's obscene. Yeah, but it's a manifestation of their desperation.
And we are more than just baby-making vessels.
We are? Oh, my gosh. She was so condescending. So it's a private matter for a woman to vote. But as a woman, I got to tell my man that you have to vote for Kamala Harris. Okay.
There's one other way they're trying to strike fear into another cohort of voters.